Chapter 783. Although they did not know what had happened, the students could all see that Spiritual Master Fireline's departure was definitely caused by Su Yun. Adding on the conversation between Master Subhoodie and Su Yun, the students became even more curious about Su Yun. Not long after Wan Hongsha's men left, the powerful spirit cultivator from all over the ultimate martial sacred plane came to visit and inquire about the situation. After knowing that their master was fine, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. However, a portion of the students scoffed. In their minds, some people might really have found out about this matter very late and did not have the time to come and help. However, some people knew about this, but did not come on purpose because they were afraid of offending Wan Hongsha and Spiritual Master Firelion. However, no matter what kind of person they were, Master Subhoodie always treated them sincerely and did not ask about this matter. Su Yin was the same. The straw hut had been burned down, so he could only think of a way to build another straw hut. Towards the other students' questions, he kept his mouth shut and tried his best to stay away from the crowd. He continued to be alone and focused on his cultivation. In order to avoid being disturbed by others, he did not even say anything about what had happened at Master Subhoodie's place. He only sent someone to inform Octagon Aniseed that he was still safe and sound. Octagon Aniseed knew that Su Yun was not captured by the Supreme Sect, so he heaved a sigh of relief and told the people of the Devil Sect to stop searching for Su Yun. However, Su Yun did not say anything. He did not dare to imagine the scene for back then. It would once again entice his killing intent, causing the evil chi in his body to go berserk. Helpless, Octagon Aniseed could only continue to send people to investigate the sudden disappearance of the Supreme Sect. After Wan Hongsha's men left, the matter came to an end. The Master Subhoodie was still the same as usual, traveling around or giving lessons to students. Every day, there would be many spirit cultivator who would come to visit the Master Subhoodie. This seemingly quiet place could not be said to be absolutely quiet, but there was one thing that satisfied Su Yun, and that was that he was happy to be quiet. However, it was impossible for his heart to calm down forever. He had suppressed the evil aura, but he could not suppress his longing. He had been here on and off for almost a year, but he was always thinking about his parents, thinking about his sister, thinking about Hu Qian Mian, thinking about Long Xianli and Huai Romuyu. He did not know how she was doing, but of course, the person he was thinking about the most was Qing Er. After so long, the longing in Su Yun's heart grew by the day. He could not wait to immediately head to the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace to find Qing. However, even though he missed her, Su Yun understood the current situation. If he did not resolve all the evil qi in his body, then he would not have much time to see Qing Er in the future. On this day, Su Yun continued to follow the instructions given by the Master Subhoodie. He chanted an incantation and sat cross-legged in meditation. He did not circulate his qi and returned the qi meridian and spirit core to their original state. After he finished his homework, he started to wander around the quiet and beautiful ultimate martial sacred plane. Of course, the places he went to were all places where there were few people. The Master Subhoodie had given him a mental cultivation method. This mental cultivation method was not of much help to increase his cultivation, but it was extremely helpful to his mental cultivation. He sat in front of the waterfall, silently reciting the mantra and gazing at the waterfall. His heart was abnormally cold. He took a deep breath and stared at the waterfall. For some reason, the more he looked at the waterfall, the more entranced he became. He clearly wasn't thinking about anything, but he was so quiet. Was he in a daze? Su Yun was puzzled. Roar! Suddenly, a leopard's roar came from behind him. In this silent valley, such a ruthless roar sounded out, causing people to jump in fright. Su Yun turned his head, only to see a leopard with an emerald green body walking towards him. The leopard's speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it had already scurried to a large rock not far away. Its entire body was green, with spots like leaves, and rows of barbs grew on its back, like the thorns of a wooden sculpture. What made people gasp in amazement was that wherever it passed, regardless of whether it was the flowers, plants, or trees, they would all flourish, with hundreds of flowers blooming and green grass thriving. "This is the wooden leopard?" Su-yin was startled for a moment. The wooden leopard was a relatively rare type of fierce beast in the ultimate martial sacred plane. It had a strange temperament, an extremely strong desire to attack, and loved to eat the meat of the spirit cultivator. However, what was strange was that wherever the wooden leopard went, regardless of whether it was the flowers, plants, or trees, all of them would show signs of flourishing, as though they were the messengers of nature. Looking at the wooden leopard, it probably wanted to swallow Su-yin to fill its stomach. It was not suitable for Su-yin to use the profound strength, so if he wanted to chase away the wooden leopard, he could only rely on brute force. His eyes suddenly widened as he glanced at the wooden leopard. Fifth stage of the sky, Spirit Master. He was considered quite strong among the wooden leopards. Su-yin stood up, with his hands behind his back. He was prepared to rely on brute force to fight with the wooden leopard. Roar! Seeing Su-yin's actions, the wooden leopard was obviously angry and started to roar at him. After that, he moved his forelimbs and circled around Su-yin, as though he was looking for an opportunity to attack. Seeing that, a thought suddenly flashed past Su-yin's mind. His current evil aura was too strong. Even if he did not use the profound strength and use brute force, it would still affect the evil aura in his body. After all, during a battle, his heart would easily become angry, but if he did not participate in the battle and used other items to fight against the enemy, what would happen? Su-yin thought of his own limitless sword arts. The person who controlled the sword did not need to do anything himself and was able to slay enemies from 1,000 miles away. In the end, it was still controlled by the profound chi, just like a person using a needle and thread to lead a puppet to kill people. In the end, it was still inextricably linked to the sword. Chi could control the sword, but could strength control the sword? If his every move was like walking or running, but he could still fight, what would happen? Su-yin thought. The profound chi had to be activated on his own initiative, and almost all of them were used to fight, but the power was different. Its fundamental purpose was not to kill, but to give a person mobility. If a person lost their strength, they would be like a corpse. A person could lose their profound chi, but they could not lose their strength. Breathing requires effort. Swinging one's hands requires effort. Walking requires effort. And many of the places where one uses strength are ignored by us. However, this was not the fault of humans, but because these powers were too weak and too ordinary. Everything had two sides. Sometimes, being weak was often equal to being strong. Su-yin removed the profound technique and retracted the power that he had deliberately raised. He picked up a stone from the ground and casually waved his hand. The stone flew out and smashed towards the wooden leopard. This was the use of strength, but this strength was only the strength that Su-yin usually used to swing his arms. It was exceptionally weak. Seeing the stone flying over, the wooden leopard jumped in fright and hurriedly jumped back. Pata! The stone landed on the ground with a light sound, and then there was no movement. The wooden leopard stared at the stone with its dark green eyes. Seeing that there was no movement, it immediately roared in a low voice. From the looks of it, it was angry. Su-yin took a few steps back, took out the sword sheath, and placed it on the ground. Then, he took out a large number of sharp swords and threw them on the ground. The sharp swords were taken out and piled up in front of him. In the blink of an eye, there were more than 100 of them. The sharp swords piled up like a small mountain, and the scattered sword chi once again provoked the wooden leopard. In fact, at the level of the wooden leopard, it already had its own intelligence and understood what its goal was. However, Su-yin's strange actions over and over again made it even more unable to see through this fellow, who seemed to only be at the first stage of the Sky Spirit Master. However, the wooden leopard had clearly lost its patience. Seeing that Su-yin had taken out the weapons and did not attack him, it immediately growled and pounced forward. Its speed was ridiculously fast, and one could only see a dark green figure charging towards Su-yin. However, Su-yin casually waved his hand. That hand seemed to have inadvertently touched a sharp sword that was stabbed in front of him. The sword was flung out by this weak force and flew towards the wooden leopard. The wooden leopard was shocked once again and anxiously rolled to the side. At the same time, it activated the profound strength, and a layer of faint green chi turned into a round cover around its body, protecting its body. However, the sharp sword that was accidentally thrown out by his hand spun in a circle, and then it fell to the ground less than 10 meters away from Su Yun. There was no earth-shattering sound. There were also no terrifying, profound strengths. Everything seemed so calm and inconspicuous. The wooden leopard was stunned. It opened its eyes wide and looked at Su Yun as if it was in a daze. "Sorry, I let it go." Su Yun laughed and said shamelessly, "Roar." The wooden leopard felt that its dignity had been greatly insulted. Its anger soared to the sky, and its killing intent surged. It knew that if it did not eat Su Yun today, it would not give up. It was not an ordinary spirit beast. It also had its own pride, but at this moment, this cunning spirit cultivator in front of it had humiliated it time and time again. It no longer hesitated. With all of its strength, it charged forward like a meteor. This aura was completely unstoppable. Seeing that, Su Yun still had that unhurried look. He looked in the direction that the wooden leopard was attacking from, and suddenly moved. Crash! Suddenly, 3 or 4 terrifyingly sharp long swords stood up from the pile of swords in front of him. Upon closer inspection, Su Yun stepped on the hilt of these sharp swords and forcefully lifted them up. The wooden leopard anxiously dodged again. Its body was affected by the inertia and directly crashed into a large rock beside Su Yun, smashing the hard rock into pieces. Quite a risk, Su Yun was surprised. He was completely testing his own thoughts and did not think that it would have any effect. The reason for this was none other than because this wooden leopard was too stupid. The wooden leopard stood up from the rubble, shook its head, and then roared angrily at Su Yun. "CKU, are you done yet? Can you make a good move?" A deep curse came out of its mouth. "You can speak." Su Yun was stunned. Chapter 784. Who told you I don't know how to speak? The wooden leopard growled, its face almost twisted together. It circled around Su Yun twice, cursing as it did so. "Can't you compete with lousy properly? If you don't behave yourself, I'll dig out your heart and eat it in front of you." Hearing that, Su Yun became interested. "Are you a demon beast?" "What do you mean?" "Ignorant country bumpkin. I am a noble spirit beast. How can I be compared to a lowly fellow like a demon beast?" The wooden leopard snorted. "As far as I know, most wooden leopards don't know how to speak. That's because my cultivation is high, and I have already gained intelligence. In addition, I have come into contact with a lot of spirit cultivator, so I can speak. After I cultivate for another few thousand years, I will be able to take human form." "Then wouldn't he really become a demon? And you still say you're not a demon beast? You brat, I won't forgive you." The wooden leopard flew into a rage and prepared to attack again. "Hey, don't be in such a hurry to make a move. If we have anything to say, we could talk about it slowly." Su Yun felt that this leopard was quite interesting and quickly said, "What else do you want to say? I just want to know why you were afraid when I did those few things before." Su Yun asked with a smile. "You're still provoking me?" No, this is not a provocation. I'm just curious," Su Yun said. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something. He took out a few spirit beast corpses that he had placed a long time ago and threw them in front of the wooden leopard. "Eat it. Just treat it as my treat." Su Yun laughed. The wooden leopard was stunned. It looked at the corpses of the spirit beasts in front of it that were 2 times larger than itself. It sniffed, then looked at Su Yun suspiciously. "Why are you giving me food? If I don't give it to you, you'll come and eat me." You couldn't have poisoned it, right? How is this possible? Unless I knew you were coming and poisoned you in advance." Su Yun was stunned. However, at this moment, he understood that not only was this leopard stupid, it was also very suspicious. He simply couldn't be teased anymore. When the wooden leopard heard this, it also felt that it made sense. It nodded and started to eat in big mouthfuls. The cultivation of the wooden leopard was not low. Logically speaking, they would not die even if they did not eat. However, they would always feel hungry and gluttonous. Thus, they would choose to eat regularly. These corpses that were to its size were to be eaten a few times before they would be completely gone. Not even their bones were left. The wooden leopard lay on the ground and burped with a leisurely and complacent look on its face. Seeing that, Su-yun sat beside it and said, "How is it? Do you believe me now?" However, it did not know that Su-yun's current position was extremely dangerous to it. As long as Su-yun was willing, he could take its life at any time. TSK, this is not cowardice. This is caution, an instinctive reaction. Do you understand? Although your cultivation is very low, I can see that you are calm and not afraid of me at all, so I am worried that you have some tricks up your sleeves. Naturally, we have to be careful. We are outside, so we have to be careful. The wooden leopard rolled its eyes at Su-yun and said, "Is that so?" Su-yun started to think. Very quickly, he stood up and said, "Little leopard, how about this? You accompany me to practice. I will provide you with a meal every day. How about it?" Practice? Practice what hand? The wooden leopard was not in a hurry to answer Su-yun and turned its neck to look at him. "Practice with me, just like this." Su-yun walked to the side of the group of sharp swords, raised his leg, and casually kicked. It was just a kick. He did not deliberately accumulate any strength. A few swords were kicked out by him, smashing into the wooden leopard in all directions. The wooden leopard was frightened again and hurriedly ran away. However, these swords fell to the ground in a sparse manner and still did not cause any terrifying damage. "What are you doing?" The wooden leopard did not understand. It could naturally tell that Su-yun's actions were not a killing move, but he did it again and again, causing people to be suspicious. "I'm trying out a move." "Test. Try what move?" "Use your strength to control the sword." "Use your strength to control the sword." The wooden leopard was stunned for a moment, then suddenly burst out laughing. "Ha ha ha ha. Using your strength to control the sword? You actually used your strength to control the sword? Ha 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 ha, are you kidding me? I have only heard of using chi to control the sword, but I have never heard of using my strength to control the sword. Ha ha ha. If you really want to use your strength to control the sword, why don't you just hold it in your hand? Isn't that better? Why you have to do this? What a joke, ha ha ha." The wooden leopard laughed unreservedly. Its bloated body rolled on the ground a few times, laughing so hard that tears were about to come out of its eyes. However, Su-yun did not care. He laughed and said, "Using chi to control the sword has the principle of using chi to control the sword. Using strength to control the sword will definitely have the advantage of using strength to control the sword. Directly holding the sword in my hand, I do not think that is using the sword, but purely using the sharpness of the sword to achieve the effect of killing the enemy. But I think that using strength to control the sword is not limited to this point. It is more important to cooperate with the sword." Su-yun squatted down, picked up a branch from the ground, and retreated. The wooden leopard looked at him curiously. He held the branch and looked at the leopard's head. Then, with a casual swing of his hand, the branch immediately began to spin at a high speed, slashing towards the wooden leopard. The wooden leopard immediately hugged its head and lay down, the rapidly spinning wooden stick flying past its head. However, just as it raised its head with a pata sound, the back of its head was struck. It turned its head and saw that the rapidly spinning branch had flown back, hitting the back of its head. "This is using my strength to control the sword. During this period of time, I did not use any profound chi on this branch. I only gave it power, and it did as I requested." Su-yun laughed. "So, I want you to accompany me to test my moves, to test the use of power. Do you understand?" The wooden leopard was stunned for a moment, then fiercely nodded its head. "Although I don't really understand, I feel that it's very powerful. For the sake of food, I'll accompany you. If you accompany me well, you can have more food. Done it." For the sake of a mouthful of meat, the wooden leopard was willing to go all out, but this could not be blamed on it. The wooden leopard hunted prey only to satisfy its appetite, and in the process of hunting, it would inevitably encounter powerful existences, and there was a high chance that it would lose its life. So unless it was extremely hungry, it would not choose to hunt. However, Su-yun's actions had allowed it to temporarily solve the source of food, so it naturally would not refuse. "Then what should I do?" The wooden leopard stood up, circled around Su-yun, and asked. "Stand there." Su-yun pointed to a round boulder not far away. With a leap, the wooden leopard jumped over and landed on top of it. In an instant, the flowers, plants, and trees around the round stone grew crazily. This leopard was a spirit creature in the first place, and its body had a dense spirit life chi. Although it ate meat, its entire body was filled with an exuberant and peaceful aura. "Don't move," Su Yun shouted, then walked in front of the sharp swords and started to swing his hands and feet. He did not deliberately use his strength. He only deliberately used his strength. His strength was not great, but he had to use it exquisitely. Everything was like this. When a leopard walked, if every step it took was very heavy, then its speed would not be fast. When a giant elephant walked, if every step it took was very light, then who knew how many times it would tumble and tumble. Right now, what he needed to practice was to control the sword, not simply to control the sword. If he wanted the sword to be able to move freely after leaving his hand, he had to give it strength, such as walking, jumping, stretching, and so on. What would happen if he placed these forces on the sword? Su Yun thought seriously. His mind was empty. His concept was clear. His brain was completely focused on it. But he was not thinking about using the sword to kill, but how to give the sword a new life. Little did he know that in this state, the evil aura in his body had already started to evaporate bit by bit. This was a type of increase in the concept and also a type of advancement in the state of mind. The wooden leopard looked at Su Yun strangely, only to see him throwing a few swords out, which landed on the ground, and then squatting in front of the pile of swords, he stretched out his hand and started playing with them, as if he had forgotten his own existence. After waiting for a long time, Su Yun did not make any other movements. The wooden leopard felt bored, so it could only lie on the ground and sleep. It was not a diligent cultivator. It ate, slept, and lived a carefree life. However, before the wooden leopard could sleep for long, a dang sound came from its head. It was startled awake and anxiously roared, "Who? How dare you sneak attack me? It's me. Don't move," Su Yun shouted. Before the wooden leopard could react, a few more swords flew over. They spun in the air and split into several directions, smashing all over its body. "Ouch!" The wooden leopard cried out in pain. However, Su Yun did not care about it. With this cultivation level, Su Yun did not use any chi, nor did he use much strength. It would be strange if it could feel pain. The wooden leopard was naturally pretending. Its goal was to hope that Su Yun would stop so that it would suffer less. However, Su Yun did not have that intention, only to see a few more swords flying over. The wooden leopard exhaled. It did not dodge and watched as the sword came flying over. The sharp sword spun. Its speed was neither fast nor slow, making so-so sounds in the air. There was no dazzling light, no terrifying aura. It simply flew over, hitting the wooden leopard's body, but it was still not painful or itchy. "Is this what you mean by using your strength to control the sword?" The wooden leopard had a look of disdain on its face. "This is completely a fight between mortals. I don't even know what to do. I think it's better if you don't do anything stupid, in case others see it. It's embarrassing. When any profound technique is created, it is impossible for it to be earth-shattering. This requires a process of modification and diligent practice, a process of creation. Furthermore, I do not expect this move of mine to be very powerful. I just want to express this bit of insight in my heart. That's all." Su Yun laughed, and then continued to ponder over the pile of swords in front of him. Chapter 785. Crash. A ray of multicolored light shot out from the center of the violet moon immortal island and shot straight into the sky. The spirit cultivators around the island all stopped and looked into the distance. When the multicolored light rose into the sky, a mysterious and mystical aura spread throughout the entire immortal Tao. The sky suddenly darkened and the stars flickered. A nine-palace star diagram suddenly appeared in the sky. The star diagram was resplendent and beautiful. It was extremely dazzling. Such a strange scene announced that an expert had stepped into a new realm. Could it be that someone from the palace has advanced? That's most likely the case. The strength of the kingdom of ZU has probably increased by quite a bit. The kingdom of ZU has been keeping a low profile all these years, and has never had any conflicts with other powers. They have focused on developing, and their strength is already incomparably strong. Now that so many experts have been born, once this sleeping lion wakes up, I'm afraid there will be a change in the situation of the myriad worlds. That's right. Everyone discussed. Inside the Immortal Island, in the forbidden area of the Immortal Kingdom, Shangguan Mei Yang and Sun Xiangyin were already waiting outside the Immortal Mountain. When they saw the multicolored light that shot into the sky, the two of them could not help but feel excited. Purple light, 9 palace diagram. This is the phenomenon caused by Zhou Xuanqi. Powerful. Amazing. Qing'er has probably made a breakthrough at an even higher level, and his cultivation has soared. Sun Xiangyin stared at the sky for a while, then exclaimed excitedly. Looking at the place where the light is shooting into the sky, it seems to be the 5th level. Senior sister, has Qing'er already stepped into the 5th level of the Immortal Mountain? Shangguan Meiyang turned her head and asked anxiously. That's right. Sun Xiangyin smiled and nodded. This multicolored light is indeed coming from the 5th level. I reckon that Qing'er has already successfully passed through the 5th level and is probably heading toward the 6th level now. The body of God is indeed extraordinary. I am not surprised that she was able to enter the 5th level. I just want to see if she can reach the top. How far we can go will depend on Qing'er's luck. We can't force it. We can just wait. Shangguan Meiyang laughed. Qing'er has a pure and kind nature. It is truly a blessing for your divine Cloud Immortal Palace to have such a disciple. It can't be said to be fortunate or unfortunate. The divine Cloud Immortal Palace will not rely on Qing'er. At the same time, Qing'er should not rely on the sect. It is not a coincidence that I know Qing'er. It is related to a person, but after coming to the ultimate martial world for so long, I have not seen that person again. It is truly regretful. Oh, who is that person? I can only say that he is Qing'er's closest person. I still don't know what their relationship is. Shangguan Meiyang laughed bitterly. Qing'er called him young master, but Nair did not treat Qing'er like a servant at all. Maybe it was more appropriate to say that the two of them were partners. The two of them stood in front of the Celestial Mountain for a while. Seeing that the Celestial Mountain had regained its calm, they decided to leave. However, just as Sun Xiangyin and Shangguan Meiyang walked out of the Forbidden Grounds, they saw a man dressed in purple palace robes rushing over. Your Highness. Sun Xiangyin's face turned serious. What happened? It is reported that those few have sent envoys to the True Devil Sect and Supreme Sect, and their envoys have all returned. So what? I already know the result of the battle. The Supreme Sect has lost, the True Devil Sect has won, and even the Martial Imperial Palace has interfered in this battle. The current situation is extremely complicated. The old ancestor will not allow them to interfere. Their actions will only cause the person above to feel disgusted. It is beneficial to us, whatever they want to do. Let them do as they please. Sun Xiangyin sneered. Her face was filled with disdain. Your Highness is right. The man cupped his fists. Is there anything else? However, that person was not in a hurry to speak. Instead, he looked left and right, still cupping his fists and lowering his head. Seeing that, Sun Xiangyin said indifferently, Come with me. Yes, Your Highness. Junior sister, you too. As you command, senior sister. With that, the three of them quickly walked towards Sun Xiangyin's mansion. After entering the mansion, Sun Xiangyin dismissed the servants and sat in the hall with Shangguan Meiyang. She said indifferently, All right, if you have anything to say, speak. Seeing that Sun Xiangyin did not intentionally avoid Shangguan Meiyang, and even brought her along, the man knew that Sun Xiangyin trusted Shangguan Meiyang a lot, and immediately said, Reporting to Your Highness, our people went to the Supreme Sect 10 days ago to investigate, but at the moment, there is no longer a single Supreme Sect in the Supreme Realm. The Supreme Realm was completely sealed off by the people of the True Devil Sect. Our people disguised themselves and snuck in, and finally entered the Supreme Sect, but within the Supreme Realm, there was no longer a single Supreme Sect to be seen, and even the buildings of the Supreme Realm had been destroyed. The Supreme Realm no longer existed. "Your Highness, the Supreme Realm, it might have been destroyed by the true devil sect." As soon as he said this, Sun Xiangyin immediately fell silent. The atmosphere in the room seemed to have dropped to 100 degrees below zero. Even the air had frozen. The atmosphere was extremely strange. She didn't move at all, not even blinking. Her expression was stiff. After a long time, her face was flushed with anger. "Suing, you have followed me for so many years, you know my temper. Anyone who dares to tease me, I will make him die a horrible death. Don't you understand?" With that said, Suing immediately knelt down, kowtowed, and shouted, "Your Highness, what this subordinate said is absolutely true. In the current Supreme Realm, there is no longer a single person from the Supreme Sect, although this subordinate does not know what happened to the Supreme Sect. But the situation is like this. If Your Highness thinks that this subordinate is spouting nonsense, this subordinate is willing to die. To prove my innocence." Su Ying's words were sincere, his attitude serious. Sun Xiangyin stared at him for a long time, then said, "If what you said is true, that would be terrible. If the Supreme Sect is really destroyed, wouldn't it be a blessing for all the worlds in the world? How could it be bad?" Shangguan Meiyang, who was at the side, did not understand. "Junior sister, you do not understand the Supreme Sect, so you will naturally think so. However, when you understand how terrifying the existence behind the Supreme Sect is, you will not think that way." Sun Xiangyin sighed, her voice actually carrying a hint of tiredness. Hearing that, Shangguan Meiyang was confused. "Senior sister, there's another power behind the Supreme Sect? What kind of power is it? Even the kingdom of ZU is unable to contend against it? In fact, it's hard for me to say how powerful that power is. It's not the Supreme Sect superior, but it has a deep relationship with the Supreme Sect. Because they live in a corner, many spirit cultivators do not know of their existence. And if something really happens to the Supreme Sect, this power will not be able to remain calm any longer. Once they appear, the myriad heavens realm will be in for some fun." Shangguan Meiyang did not say anything else. Then, "Your Highness, what should we do? Are we still going to let the situation change?" Su Ying asked. "Of course not." Sun Xiangyin rubbed her chin as she thought about it. The two of them waited quietly, and after an unknown period of time, she raised her head and said, "Immediately get everyone in the Fox group to come see me. Although I do not know what is going on in the Supreme Sect, nor do I know what will happen, but we must make preparations first. I will give each of them a mission and have them contact everywhere, try their best to befriend some small sects, and also post a notice to the world. In 3 months, the Kingdom of Z, you will hold a spirit martial assembly, and use martial arts to make friends, sincerely inviting all the spirit cultivator in the world to discuss martial arts and make friends. Your Highness, didn't you just say that doing too much at this time would only make the people above suspicious? Is that okay? Don't worry. I am using the name of the Kingdom of ZU, not my own, so it will not affect me. Furthermore, I have not interfered in the matters between the True Devil Sect and the Supreme Sect, so what does it matter? Hurry up and do it." Hearing that, Su Ying immediately cupped his fists and left. Seeing that, Sun Xiangyin sighed and said to Shangguan Meiyang, "Junior sister, I might not have time to accompany you to watch over Qing'er during this period of time. Senior sister, don't worry too much. I will take care of Qing'er myself. You can just focus on the important matters." Shangguan Meiyang nodded. "After this is over, senior sister will accompany you for a drink." Senior sister, junior sister is not good at drinking. In a quiet bamboo forest. Ouch, 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 ouch. Mournful screams came out from the forest one after another. Soon after, he saw a green leopard with a few swords stuck in its butt. It rolled and crawled out, its blood flowing all over the ground. "Hey, don't go. With your spirit life, Chi. This kind of injury can be ignored. All right, if you run again, I won't give you this meal today." Su Yan's voice came from inside. This voice was filled with demonic nature. The wooden leopard that was originally crying and running away immediately seemed to have changed its soul. Its body moved and directly scurried in front of Su Yun, who was in the bamboo forest, turned around and stuck his butt up. Su Yun casually crawled out the sword that was stuck in its butt. "I'll say it first. I'm going to have an extra meal today. I'm bleeding. The wooden leopard turned its head and said, Don't worry, I'll take care of it later. That's more like it. You have to be more gentle later. Hurry up and lie down over there. The wooden leopard chuckled and ran over to lie down. There were no longer any injuries on its butt, and with just Su Yun's strength, it was impossible for it to have much power. If not for the fact that these swords were all divine swords and were naturally sharp, if not for the fact that they were ordinary weapons, they would have been shattered by the wooden leopard's protective profound chi. Su Yun picked up a thin sword that was as light as jade, his eyes carefully sweeping across the sword, his fingers caressing the sword blade, feeling the cool feeling coming from the sword blade. What a good jade sword. The sword is light and the hilt is heavy. The profound chi accumulated should be pointed at the sword peak, maintaining the balance on both sides, causing the sword body to be even sharper. This is a top-quality sword that is good at using fast swords. Su Yun muttered, then moved his finger, exerting force with his fingertip, his index finger hitting the sword hilt. The jade sword immediately flew out, but what was shocking was that the jade sword actually circled in the air and then flew towards the wooden leopard in the distance. The wooden leopard glanced at it, not caring at all, and immediately closed its eyes to rest. Whoa! The wooden leopard suddenly jumped up and howled. Another sword was stabbed into its butt. Chapter 786. Gudong in front of a pile of wild beast corpses. The wooden leopard opened its mouth and started eating like a taotai. A piece of meat was swallowed into its stomach without even chewing a few times. This leopard didn't look big, but its appetite was huge. Su Yun held onto the sword, sat in the middle of the bamboo forest, and looked at it carefully. Although controlling the sword with force and controlling the sword with chi were not the same in essence, they were inextricably linked. The chi was released by oneself, linked to the sword, and following one's movements, the sword would make all sorts of movements, be it defense or attack. When one's control over the profound chi had reached a level where one could control it as one pleased, using the chi to control the sword was actually not much different from holding the sword in one's hand. But using strength to control the sword was completely different. Su Yun's idea was to completely use his strength to give his sword a new life. All the swords he had now were all sword spirits that did not have their own thoughts. This kind of high-level existence could only appear in the death sword, but with the control of strength, it could allow them to attack freely and coordinate with him in battle. This idea was very bold. Of course, even if it was realized, it might not have much power. After all, the power given to the sword was limited. It was not a human after all, so it did not have limitless power. Su Yun took out 10 swords and stabbed them into the ground one by one. His gaze landed on each sword, as if he was thinking about something. Hey, let me ask you, if you really want to practice the sword, why don't you find a dead target? Why do you want me to be a live target? There's no need at all. You don't want me to spar with you. The wooden leopard shouted in confusion. Who said I don't want you to spar with me? Su Yun laughed. Now, you can move, you can think of a way to dodge my swords. Oh, hearing that, the wooden leopard became interested. It immediately stood up and looked at Su Yun. Since you want to spar with me, then make your move. I see that you've been training in this period of time. Using your strength to control the sword is just like this. There's nothing to see at all. If I can dodge now, I'm afraid you won't even be able to touch my fur. Everything has to be done in a gradual manner. Then let's go. The wooden leopard roared. Su Yun slowly raised his right arm. His movements were natural, and there was an indescribable sharpness to them. This kind of feeling, accompanied by his wonderful and sharp temperament, made people feel very oppressed. The wooden leopard was stunned. He didn't know why, but he felt that the person in front of him was very dangerous, as if he could kill him in the next second, especially when it saw Su Yun's hand slowly reaching towards the sword hilt. It felt as if it was suffocating. This person, what the hell was going on? His previous practice was so lousy. No, this was not the result of his practice, but the result of his understanding of the sword, the result of his understanding of sword intent. This guy's sword intent had already reached a natural level. The wooden leopard could not help but take a step back. Pay attention. Just then, Suyun shouted. The wooden leopard's body trembled. Suyun's finger had already touched one of the silver swords, the tip of his finger lightly hitting the top of the sword. The sword trembled a few times and immediately flew out. Dang! The sound of his fingertips touching the hilt of the sword was like an ancient warning bell, ringing in the ears of the wooden leopard. Its attention had been raised to 120 degrees. It was completely focused, and all the fur on its body stood up. The barbs on its back had grown by more than a meter, as if it was facing a great enemy. The sharp sword flew over and spun in the air. At first, its spinning speed was not fast, but when it approached the wooden leopard, it suddenly accelerated as fast as a whirlwind. Moreover, this sword actually did not directly attack the wooden leopard, but instead scuttled past it from the side. The shuttle flew into the distance, turned around, and bounced in this direction. When Xiao Chan approached the wooden leopard again, the sword suddenly stopped spinning. Then the tip of the sword headed straight for its butt. What? The wooden leopard was stunned. This sword did not have the slightest bit of profound qi around it, and was not controlled by the profound strength at all. How could such a phenomenon occur? It was as if it had come to life. However, when the silver sword flew over rapidly, it suddenly swayed a few times, and its trajectory started to sway. In the end, it passed through the side of the wooden leopard and landed on the ground with a clang sound. Then, there was nothing else. The attack was gone. The wooden leopard looked at the sword in a daze, turned its head and shouted at Suyun. That's it. Haha, I didn't control my strength correctly. I'm sorry. Suyun scratched his head and laughed awkwardly. Damn, this is completely useless. This is the first time I've seen such a useless sword technique. I say, why are you wasting your time on this every day? It doesn't have any lethality. The wooden leopard couldn't help but complain. It doesn't have to be powerful. Even if it doesn't have any lethality, it doesn't matter. Just treat it as training my control over my strength. Suyun laughed. It's a thankless task. The wooden leopard shook its head. Suyun did not care and continued to study the swords. Just like that, the days slowly passed. Every time the master subhoodie returned from a foreign land, he would always conduct a lesson that lasted from 10 days to a month, while the rest of the time was for the students to cultivate on their own. Some of the big classes would even attract experts from all over the ultimate martial sacred plane. However, the wooden leopard also knew about the master subhoodie, and because of Su Yun's relationship, he was also brought in to listen to the lecture. As the winter solstice arrived, the cold gradually spread to every corner of the ultimate martial sacred plane. Gradually, snowflakes began to fall from the sky, covering the ground with a layer of silver frost. Su Yun stood quietly on a cliff, looking at the beautiful scenery of the snow in the distance. Why aren't you practicing today? The wooden leopard walked over and asked. I'll be leaving in a while. I'll accompany the master subhoodie to the mouth of the Phoenix Pond to listen to the lecture of a sage at the mouth of the Phoenix Pond. I'll go too. The wooden leopard hurriedly called out. This sage is not as easy to talk to as the master subhoodie. I heard that she is extremely strict and has set up many complicated rules. If you listen to her lessons, you must follow her rules, otherwise, the consequences will be severe. Serious? How serious could it be? She wouldn't kill me, would she? The wooden leopard laughed. I heard that there was such an example. Su Yun said seriously. The wooden leopard's expression froze. I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard that someone publicly questioned and insulted her in her class. So she killed that person? How can that be? She was a saint after all. How could she kill people recklessly? If word of this got out, wouldn't he be criticized by others? However, she can't be killed, but it doesn't mean that her disciples can't. Supposedly, the person who humiliated her had just walked out of the Phoenix pool when he was directly dismembered, and even his soul was taken away and refined. Ugh, so ruthless. But then again, how could I possibly insult her? Don't tell me that I have nothing better to do after eating my fill. The wooden leopard laughed awkwardly. But sometimes, your careless actions will often offend others. This person is very sensitive. Maybe one of your actions will touch on her taboo. Didn't I tell you that she has a lot of rules? Ugh, then I won't go. To be honest, none of us want to go. Su Yun sighed. At this time, the wooden leopard suddenly stood up, looked back a few times, then quickly leaped and disappeared. Not long after, a figure flew over in a hurry. It was the eldest disciple of the master Subhoodie, Luo He, whom Su Yun had met a few times. Luo He had been traveling outside all year round, and although he had been in the ultimate martial sacred plane for a period of time, he had not interacted much with him. Junior brother Su Yun. After Luo He landed, he cupped his fists and laughed. Senior brother Luo He. Junior brother, it's about time. Master asked me to call you over. We will immediately set off for the mouth of the Phoenix Pond. I can leave at any time. Let's go. Su Yun laughed and followed Luo He to fly into the sky. Snowflakes rubbed against each other as the wooden leopard at the edge of the cliff watched from afar. When Su Yun was about to leave, he could not help but let out a few roars. Junior brother Su Yun, I have heard about your matters. Dissolving the evil aura is not something that can be done overnight. I believe that you should have gained something in the ultimate martial sacred plane during this period of time. And this time, going to the mouth of the Phoenix Pond to study will actually be of great help to you. Sage Feng Qi is a master of the spirit life Qi. Not only is her academics excellent, her cultivation is also strong. If she can help, I believe that the speed at which you dissolve your evil aura will be much faster. Luo He laughed. Hearing that, Su Yun was naturally happy. If that's the case, then it is indeed a fortunate thing. Not long after, the two of them arrived at a large road. At this moment, there were close to 100 people standing in front of the road. Everyone was standing on a gigantic Bodhi leaf, surrounding the Master Subhoodie and talking about something. Master Subhoodie's face was filled with benevolence as he chuckled and answered the disciples' questions. Su Yun and Luo He flew over and immediately cupped their fists and bowed. Greetings, Master. Yes. The Master nodded his head. He sized Su Yun up, his face revealing a look of gratification. During this period of time, the speed at which your evil aura has been dispelled is extremely fast. It is truly astonishing. I believe you must have had some sort of epiphany. It's not an epiphany. Su Yun laughed. I just found something for myself to do. It's all in vain. There's no distinction between big and small matters. No distinction between merits and demerits. As long as it's useful, it's possible. The Master Subhoodie said. Shinner opened her mouth and said loudly, Saint Feng Qi is one of the great sages of the ultimate martial sacred plane. Being able to listen to her lessons is extremely precious. This time, when we go to the mouth of the Phoenix Pond, I hope that you all can learn a lot, comprehend a lot, and ask for a lot of advice. Remember the teachings of the Master. Everyone hurriedly cupped their fists and shouted, Everyone is almost here. Let's go. Yes, Master. Everyone replied once again. Following that, the Master waved his hand lightly, and the Bodhi leaf dragged everyone up into the air. It flew towards the horizon at a moderate speed, like a swan goose, soaring into the sky. Chapter 787. When they set off, it was still snowing heavily. However, after walking for half a day, the snow gradually disappeared and the warm sun shone on their bodies. The mouth of the Phoenix Pond was located in a low-lying area, with a green forest on the left and a lake on the right. The scenery was beautiful, and it was truly a treasure land of outstanding people. When they approached the mouth of the Fengqi Lake, they could see many spirit cultivators rushing over from the horizon. They landed 100 miles away from the mouth of the Phoenix Pond and walked the rest of the way to show their respect for the sage of the Phoenix Pond. Master? This student greets Master. Junior greets Master. Chen Guangzhong greets Master. How has Master been recently? When the spirit cultivator south on the road saw Master Subhoodie and the others floating over, all of their faces revealed joy and flew over to greet them. Master Subhoodie nodded in response, his face full of benevolence. When he was about 100 miles away, the Master also descended from the Bodhi leaf and chose to walk. Actually, according to fame, The Master Subhoodie could be said to be the most famous and knowledgeable of the 5 sages of the ultimate martial arts. However, he was also the most humble. No matter who he was, he treated them the same. However, after a few steps, he saw a group of young men and women dressed in purple walking over quickly. These people were all beautiful. The men were handsome, the women were beautiful, and people could not help but forget to take a few more glances. They quickly walked over, and as they approached the Master Subhoodie, they bowed from afar. The white-faced man in the lead cupped his fists and smiled. Master's presence, my Phoenix Pawn mouth, is truly honored. Master knows that Master will choose to walk, so he specially ordered us to welcome him here. Oh, the Master Subhoodie was startled, then laughed. Sage Feng-Chi is truly considerate. Master is waiting for Master and everyone at the mouth of the Phoenix Pond. This way, please. Thank you. The Master Subhoodie nodded and followed the group of people. Although they were walking, the speed of the spirit cultivator was not slow. It only took them an hour to travel 100 miles. The mouth of the Phoenix Pond was a place with a very special topography. It was originally a boulder that had fallen into this low-lying area. The boulder was huge and shaped like an egg, and the center of the boulder had cracked open for some reason, forming a canyon. This was the mouth of the Phoenix Pond. Rumor had it that this boulder was actually the egg of the divine beast phoenix. However, this rumor could not be verified. There were countless fake phoenixes and dragons in the 10,000 worlds. No one could verify whether this was true or false. The entrance to the Phoenix Pond was filled with fresh flowers and green grass. A huge orchid garden was right in front of the valley entrance. Every time a cool breeze blew, it would always bring the intoxicating fragrance of flowers to every corner of the valley. At this moment, the entrance of the valley was filled with spirit cultivator-s from all over the place. The disciples at the entrance of the Phoenix Pond were already there to welcome them. And when a Master Subhoodie rushed over, the entire valley entrance seemed to have exploded. Oh my God, it's Master. Master Subhoodie is here too? Master. Greetings, Master. Voices of respect, excitement, joy, and reverence rang out incessantly. Everyone swarmed over, surrounding the Master Subhoodie so tightly that not even a drop of water could leak out. No matter who it was, their eyes were filled with respect. This person was not inferior to the one in the valley. Thus, under the escort of the crowd, the group entered the valley. There was a grassland in the center of the valley, and in the center of the grassland, there was a huge wutong tree. Strangely, there were 7 different colored flowers growing on the tree, and every 3,000 years, one of the flowers would bloom, and when all the flowers bloomed, it would take 21,000 years. Feng-Chi had come to the ultimate martial sacred plane 6,000 years ago. She had once said that every time the flowers bloomed, she would invite the sages of the ultimate martial sacred plane to give a public lecture and discuss with everyone the results and experiences of the past 3,000 years. And when all 7 flowers bloomed, she would bring the 7 flowers and leave the ultimate martial sacred plane. When Su Yun followed the Master Subhoodie to the wutong tree, the scene before him truly shocked him. The entire surroundings of the wutong tree were filled with people. With a closer look, there were probably thousands or even tens of thousands of kilograms. And not only were there humans, there were also demon cultivator, devil cultivator, beastmen, and so on. When the previous master arrived, everyone stood up to welcome him. No one could compare to the reputation of the previous master. The Master Subhoodie and his disciples were arranged to be at the very front, less than 20 meters away from the wutong tree. Everyone sat down, some with their eyes closed, some whispering to each other, discussing in low voices. Now that most of the people had arrived, they were just waiting for the arrival of the sage Feng-Chi. After waiting for the time it took for an incense stick to burn, more and more people came, but very quickly, the wutong tree reacted. All the leaves suddenly blossomed with a strong green light. Following that, the leaves gently swayed, producing a rustling sound. A ray of light shot down from the sky and landed in front of the wutong tree. When the light dissipated, an old woman with white hair, wearing an earthen yellow robe, appeared in front of everyone. The atmosphere immediately changed. Everyone's focus had already begun to unconsciously shift towards the old woman. The old woman held a bamboo cane in her hand and sat on a huge lotus flower. There was a wrinkled green leaf imprint on her forehead. Although she looked old when she appeared in front of the wudong tree, the entire wudong tree became even more lively. The dense spirit life qi was like a thick layer of cotton covering the entire area. Everyone stood up and shouted, "Greetings, Sage Feng Qi, everyone sit down." Feng Qi nodded slightly and said. Her expression was very serious, and her voice was not as benevolent as the master subhoodies. Everyone sat on the ground. Feng Qi walked towards the master subhoodie. The two of them faced each other and cupped their fists in respect. Today, Master has come here. It is truly a blessing for Feng Qi. Master has learned a lot from the past and the present, understand the yin and yang of the world, and is a natural human being. Today, I hope to be able to seek guidance from Master. Feng Qi said, I don't dare to ask for advice, but it is necessary for us to learn from each other. In this world, only learning will never end. Master Subhoodie laughed. Thank you for your advice, Feng Qi said, then made a gesture of invitation. The two of them sat down. Shinner, Feng Qi Shang began her lesson. There is a dragon in the southern sky. It has a straightforward personality and is vast in the world. On the same day as the blazing sun, the cold moon shrouds the night. Yin and yang give birth to the extreme, boundless and formless. Ling Tian hates being late, sometimes falling. Flowers do not hesitate to bloom. Grass does not hesitate to wither. In a person's life, there will always be a yearning for freedom. And we need to maintain our own nature at all times. Do not deliberately restrain ourselves. Do not deliberately disguise ourselves. The state of mind of a person is the highest realm. If you want to thoroughly comprehend this heart, the first thing is that you need to be able to face your own heart. Face yourself in your heart. Feng Qi spoke very seriously, and his voice was also very loud and clear. Nearly 10,000 people were sitting cross-legged, regardless of whether they were strong or weak. They all closed their eyes and listened quietly. No one dared to make even the slightest sound. Even the spirit beasts that were attracted over were crawling far away, not daring to make a sound, afraid that they would disturb the teachings of the saint. Su Yin listened carefully and was also attracted by these words. He carefully savored every word that Feng Qi said, and she spoke very slowly, giving everyone enough time to think. It had to be said that Feng Qi's understanding of the principles of nature and the way of man was even more profound, completely different from the Master Subhoodies. However, the knowledge between the two of them was amazing. I never thought that Sage Feng Qi would have such an opinion. It is truly admirable. Su Yin thought. Time passed very quickly. In the blink of an eye, a day had passed. Feng Qi seemed to feel that it was enough, so he stopped talking, stood up and said, Let's end it here for today. Tomorrow morning, I will continue to teach here. Everyone was still intoxicated, but when they heard the words of the sage, they could only return resentfully. Some people still had questions, but when they saw the sage walking towards the Master Subhoodie, they knew that the two sages were going to communicate alone, so they could only leave by themselves. Su Yun and the other senior and junior brothers and sisters did not disturb them and turned to leave. He chose a colorful flower garden and sat down. The surroundings were quiet and there was no one around. It was very suitable for cultivation, especially when it came to suppressing the evil aura in his body. The effect was extremely good. The sage once said that the heart is like still water and needs a little ripple. The calm heart cannot last long, or else one will lose the 7 emotions and 6 desires. Regardless of whether it is a god or a human, one cannot lose the 7 emotions and 6 desires, nor can one be controlled by the 7 emotions and 6 desires. Otherwise, one will either be a walking corpse or a killing demon. Both of them are people who have lost their mental state, and although these words sound simple, it is extremely difficult to do so. Su Yin muttered. He sat quietly for a while, feeling that it would be difficult to digest Feng Qi's things in a short period of time. So he stood up, planning to walk around the mouth of the Phoenix Pond and enjoy the scenery. People began to disperse from the mouth of the Phoenix Pond one after another, just like how they came. It was just that, just as he walked out of the flower bed, he saw a figure flying towards him. Su Yun was startled. He extended his hand out to catch it, but unexpectedly, the man had a terrifying chi. Su Yun did not activate the profound strength, and was not even prepared. He carried the man and fell into the flower bed. When Su Yun regained his senses, he saw a big-sized man pressing down on him. His face was only a few inches away from him. He was shocked and immediately pushed the big-sized man away. He stood up in a hurry and looked at the big-sized man. Only then did he realize that this was also his master's disciple, Su Zhu. His face was covered in blood. His chest had caved in. The profound qi in his body had already dissipated, and he looked extremely miserable. From the looks of it, he seemed to have been beaten to such a state. Su Yun was startled, but when he heard waves of angry roars and curses coming from the front, he looked over and saw two groups of people squeezing together, shouting and pushing each other. Some of them had already activated their profound qi and had already started to make their moves. The scene was extremely chaotic and could not be controlled. Upon closer inspection, he realized that these two groups of people were none other than the disciples of the Master Subhoodie and the Saint Feng Chi. The two groups of people's faces were flushed red, and they had already started fighting. From the looks of it, things were probably going to get out of hand. Although Su Yun's relationship with these students was not considered good, it was not bad either. Furthermore, they were all students of the Master, so even if it was for the sake of the Master, he should not ignore them. What's more, he had just been thrown with mud all over his face. Immediately, Su Yun walked towards the two groups of people. Chapter 788. The situation was getting more and more chaotic. The scene was getting more and more chaotic. Su Yun could not watch any longer. Stop. He exhaled. However, neither of the two groups paid attention to him. Whiz! At this moment, a gust of wind from a fist suddenly blew over, followed by a huge fist that was wrapped in profound energy, smashing towards his face. As the saying goes, don't hit someone in the face. The owner of the fist greeted Su Yun's face. Although Su Yun was unable to use the profound qi because of the evil qi, it did not mean that he could not use his strength. He raised his hand and wrapped it around the incoming fist. Ha! The fist was blocked by the palm, unable to advance even half a step. The owner of the fist was a young man in his 20s. He was still wearing the purple robe at the mouth of the Phoenix Pond. His face was filled with anger, to the point of distorting, and resentment and anger filled his eyes. What was going on? Previously, he had welcomed these students into the Phoenix Pond with a smile on his face, but now, it was as if he had seen an irreconcilable enemy. Su Yun pushed lightly with his palm, using his strength to push the man away. He then asked, "What are you guys doing? What are you doing? Insulting my master is unforgivable." The man roared. Hearing that, Su Yun was confused, but the other party did not give him the chance to ask and punch him again. Was this considered a scholar meeting a soldier? Helpless, Su Yun could only retreat. He activated his movement technique. His speed suddenly increased, and when he was unprepared, a finger struck his head, causing the young man's eyes to darken, and he fainted. The rest of the people were still fighting. They were no longer limited to cursing, but had started to fight. All sorts of profound technique as flew around. The rumbling sounds did not stop, and even the ground was shaking. However, the cultivation of the people on Master Subhoodie's side was much stronger than the people at Feng Chi Ko. After a few battles, the disciples at Feng Chi Ko could not hold on any longer, and 7 or 8 people fell in a row. The scene was almost out of control. Stop! At this moment, another shout rang out. Hearing the voice, Su Yun knew who it was. However, a grayish-white aura suddenly rippled around the flower bed, and then all of it gathered around the two groups of people who were trembling. The aura was like a hand, grabbing everyone and pulling them back. People flew out and were forcibly separated. Master Subhoodie and Feng Chi led a few disciples over. When the disciples who fell to the ground saw that their teacher had arrived, they immediately stood up and bowed to the two masters. "What are you doing?" Without waiting for Master Subhoodie to speak, Feng Qi shouted in a low voice. Her voice was especially cold, and her face was tense. Her eyes were filled with anger. Seeing this, the disciples hurriedly knelt down. "Forgive me, Master." "Forgive me? How could he forgive his sins?" Putting aside the fact that all of you have extraordinary cultivation bases and strong temperaments, just the fact that you've been with me for such a long time is enough to explain why you can't even control your temperaments. Why did you do such a stupid thing? Feng Qi was so angry that he kept using his bamboo cane to poke the ground. The disciples were all scared out of their wits. Most of them lowered their heads and did not say a word. Only the few at the front spoke up. "Master, you said that Master is like a father or a mother, and filial piety is the first of all virtues. If you respect your own master, you are an unfilial and unjust person, and similarly, as a parent, you cannot allow others to insult you." These fellows actually insulted Master behind his back, and we could not stand it any longer, so we went to reason with them. Who would have thought that not only would these fellows refuse to admit it, they would even maliciously slander us. We were so angry that we made our move. The two voices were very loud, and everyone around them could hear them clearly. Master Subhoodie immediately questioned the students and shouted, "Is that so?" "Of course not. Master, they are slandering us." Student Zhang Haihong immediately shouted, "We were just talking about how knowledgeable teacher Feng Qi is, and who is more knowledgeable compared to you, teacher." Who knew that after these fellows heard it, they would say that we insulted teacher Feng Qi? Isn't this slander? Shameless. You are clearly saying that our teacher's knowledge is inferior to our teacher's. One of them immediately shouted in anger, "Stop slandering us. Teacher Feng Qi is an outstanding scholar, and we can't wait to admire him. How could we maliciously slander him like this? Now, what a joke. You guys are clearly looking down on us." "What do you mean by looking down on us? If you insist on twisting words and forcing logic, we have nothing to say. You, damn it." The students of Feng Qi were flustered and exasperated. They were about to attack, but Feng Qi's cold voice rang out once again. "Enough." The aura dispersed. The students on both sides immediately lowered their heads in silence, not daring to act rashly again. Feng Qi stared at his own students, and then coldly swept his gaze over the students of Master Subhoodie. The students of the previous master did not dare to make a sound, and did not even dare to look at Feng Qi, Lu and Mo. "All of you, go back to the back valley and face the wall for 10 days. If you leave without permission before 10 days are up, you will never be a student of me, Feng Qi Sage." A deep and stern voice rang out. "Yes." The students lowered their heads and knelt in reply. Then he left resentfully. Master Subhoodie naturally would not protect him. Although it was just a small matter, Feng Qi had already given his punishment. How could his master's students be spared? "Zhang Haiong, you guys can go back." Master Subhoodie shook his head lightly and said, Teacher, before we left, I had said that Sage Feng Qi is knowledgeable. We must humbly ask for guidance and not lose our etiquette, but you all did not take my words to heart, so I can only punish you all for the remaining 2 days of lessons. You all do not need to listen. Quickly return to the Bodhi origin tree, meditate, and comprehend." Teacher, Zhang Haihong was anxious. However, Master Subhoodie had already made his decision. Seeing that, Zhang Haihong could only sigh again and again. He kowtowed to his master and left with a dejected expression. Seeing that the two groups of disciples were punished, Su Yun did not feel anything. Seeing that the two groups of disciples were punished, Su Yun did not feel anything. They were already at this level of cultivation, and were learning from such a high teacher, but their temperament was not even as good as his. It had to be said that these students did not perform well on normal days, and in truth, many of them came to learn from their masters or sages, but they did not truly seek a breakthrough in their mental state. Some of them came to seek protection from their masters, while others hoped to use their identities as scholars to come into contact with the supreme expertess of the sacred plains and obtain benefits. There were people with all kinds of goals, but the previous master would not ask too many questions. He would teach a lot of things, and whether or not he wanted to learn would depend on the individual. After the two groups of people left, the master saw Su Yun, who was not far away. A kind smile once again surfaced on his face, and he waved at Su Yun. Su Yun quickly walked over and cupped his fists. Student greets master, greets sage Feng Chi-s. Feng Chi nodded. He did not pay too much attention to it. Master Subhoodie began to introduce it. Sage, this is my beloved disciple. His surname is Su Yun. His comprehension ability is extremely high, and he is a talent that can be molded. Unfortunately, he has encountered a calamity, and now a large amount of evil aura has accumulated on his body. I have always asked Feng Chi to have a strong mental state, and the spirit life force is like a miraculous hand, able to dissolve all evil and ruthlessness. With that, the master Subhoodie bowed to Feng Chi, seeing that. Su Yun anxiously cupped his fists and bowed. In terms of knowledge and reputation, Feng Chi was far inferior to him, but he was willing to beg for help for Su Yun. Maybe if it was any other student, his master would have done the same, but no matter what, his master's magnanimity and modesty were indeed admirable. Master, there's no need to be polite. Feng Chi's expression eased up a little. He immediately helped Master Subhoodie up and said, You and I have known each other for a long time. There's no need for this. Your student is also my student. This kind of thing, just say it. Then, thank you very much. No need. I will check on Su Yun's situation later. Feng Chi said, and then nodded at Su Yun. Su Yun immediately stepped forward. Feng Chi raised his hand, his skinny hand overflowing with a gentle and light light. It was a very comfortable feeling. Su Yun slowly closed his eyes. The two halos revolved around his chest like two swimming fishes, nimble and lively. However, this only lasted for a short moment before disappearing without a trace. Su Yun opened his eyes and looked at Feng Chi, however. Feng Chi's serious face had a subtle change at this moment. What a heavy, evil aura. Feng Chi looked at Su Yun with a dark face. What exactly did you do? How can there be such a heavy, evil aura? I have never seen such a dense, evil aura before. I am afraid that there will not be such a thing in the 10,000 worlds. His voice was filled with amazement. Su Yun bit his lower lip, but did not know how to explain. If you don't want to talk about the past, then don't talk about it. Sage, this kind of evil aura cannot be dissolved with time, but the longer it is, the greater the change. Therefore, I hope that I can borrow your hand to quickly dissolve my student's evil aura. The Master Subhoodie said. Actually, all these years, he had not asked Su Yun in detail about the reason for this evil aura. Feng Chi obviously understood what the Master Subhoodie meant. He nodded and turned to walk towards the entrance of the Phoenix Pond. Please follow me. The three of them entered the valley. After passing through the huge wudong tree in the depths of the Phoenix Pond Valley, there was a light blue lotus pond. The surface of the lotus pond was filled with lotus flowers. It was full of vitality and exuberance. Feng Chi raised his withered hand and pointed at a huge lotus flower in the middle of the lotus pond. He moved his finger. The tightly closed lotus flower suddenly bloomed, and the beautiful scene was dazzling. After the lotus flower had completely bloomed, Feng Chi said, You can go to the lotus seat. Su Yun nodded. With a leap, he lightly landed on top of it. However, just as he sat down, the lotus flower suddenly moved. The blooming petals suddenly retracted and wrapped around him. The whirlpool suddenly shrank downwards and directly retracted into the bottom of the lotus pond. Su Yun's vision turned black, and his entire body was immediately enveloped by a cool feeling. Chapter 789. The lotus flower wrapped Su Yun tightly, and the water in the lotus pond seeped in through the gaps between the petals. They were like swimming fish wrapping around Su Yun, and the coldness seeped through his skin and into his body. At this moment, Su Yun felt his entire body was abnormally calm. His heart and thoughts were completely empty. He no longer thought about anything, as though he had been frozen in place. After an unknown period of time, the lotus bloomed in the water once again. Su Yun opened his eyes and looked at everything in the lotus pond. only to discover that there were countless blue fish in the pond. Every fish was overflowing with light. They looked at Su-yun and gently rotated around him. After a while, a blue fish came over and used its lips to press against Su-yun's body. And after a while, the blue fish became a black fish and swam away. The other fish did the same. They approached Su-yun and pressed their lips against his. When their bodies turned black, they swam away. Su-yun watched quietly, not knowing what the fish were doing. When all the blue fish in the lotus pond turned black, the voice of Feng Qi came from the shore. "Come up." Hearing that, Su-yun immediately leaped out of the lotus pond. With the protection of the imperial battle robe, he left the lotus pond without a single drop of water. "How do you feel?" Feng Qi asked. "My heart has calmed down a lot, but it hasn't changed much." Su-yun shook his head. "Is that so?" Sage Feng Qi looked at the lotus pond with a serious expression. "Do you know why these fish turn black?" "I don't know. They're all blue spirit fish, spirit creatures. The reason why they turn black is because they absorbed a portion of the evil qi in your body. So that's how it is. Doesn't that mean that these fish will die as well?" "That won't happen. This spirit pond will slowly purify the evil qi in the bodies of these fish. But it will take some time. There are 60 blue spirit fish here. The evil qi absorbed is enough to kill a first-stage sky spirit master cultivator on the spot. But you do not feel any better. It can be seen that the evil qi in your body is extremely huge. I see that your cultivation is not high. How can you survive with such an astonishing evil qi in your body? I believe you have a divine object protecting you." Feng Qi sized up Su-yun. Su-yun laughed. "Teacher is right. I do have a divine object protecting my body. If not for this divine object, I, Su-yun, would have died countless times. I'm afraid that my power alone won't be of much help to the evil energy in your body. The effect won't be obvious. If you want to expel the evil energy in your body quickly, you'll need another medicinal ingredient." "Medicinal ingredients?" Master Subhoodie asked. "What medicinal ingredients?" "This medicinal herb is called horizon grass. It is a divine herb that grows at the edge of the cliff of the sky. It is extremely precious, and it is said that it will only grow after 10,000 years, and it may not be able to survive. Only a living horizon grass will have medicinal effects. Currently, I only know of one person who has this herb, but it is not easy to obtain it." Feng Qi said. After Master Subhoodie heard this, he shook his head. "I'm afraid I won't be able to obtain such a divine object. It doesn't matter if it's difficult to obtain. After all, my situation is not at an extremely critical stage, so I will properly recuperate in the ultimate martial sacred plane. There will come a day when the evil aura is completely removed, so there's no need to deliberately find a way to remove it." Su-yun said with a smile. The current method of recuperation already made him feel very good. If he went to retrieve the treasure, it would be hard to avoid conflicts with others. Although Su-yun was not afraid of conflicts, but unnecessary trouble was still avoided, not to mention that there were a lot of these divine grasses. If he got involved in unnecessary trouble, it would be terrible. Hearing Su-yun's words, Feng Qi did not insist. The mouth of the Phoenix Pond is a blessed land. The essence of the sun and moon shines directly here. A pure and calm person. You can stay here for a few more days and recuperate. I hope this place will be of some help to your evil aura. Thank you, Teacher Feng Qi. Sage Feng Qi was not some supreme expert with extraordinary methods. Even a master subhoodie could only rely on the cycle of time. Sage Feng Qi probably did not have any better methods. However, Su-yun did not mind. He was currently engrossed in using his strength to control the sword, and during the period of researching sword techniques, he felt that it was better to slowly purify the evil qi. After finding a place with no one around, he continued to study sword arts. It wasn't until the next day that Sage Feng Qi started classes again that he stopped. At this stage, Su-yun realized that his requirements were no longer high. Now that the supreme sect had been destroyed and his sister had escaped from the sea of suffering, it would be easy for his parents to bring his sister back. Even if the two of them could not do it, at least the people from the Martial Imperial Palace could easily do it. As long as his family was safe, Su-yun would have nothing to worry about. After doing so much, the only thing he wanted was for his family to be safe and sound. Suyin did not ask for anything else. The next step was to dissolve the evil qi, collect the remnant soul of the sword ancestor, and then go to the divine Cloud Immortal Palace to look for Qinger. Thinking about it, Suyin could not help but laugh. There was no more hatred or resentment, no more strife or killing. In fact, this was what he wanted. In the second lecture, Sage Fengqi was also talking about something very new. Everyone listened with great interest and seriousness. After it was over, the Master Subhoodie and Fengqi started to discuss cultivation, while Su Yun left to ponder. The people who were listening to the lesson did not go too far. They all settled down around the mouth of the Phoenix Pond and waited for the last day of the lesson. With the guidance of a famous teacher, a spirit cultivator would be able to avoid a lot of detours. Even though the cultivation of these famous teachers could not be considered strong, their comprehension of cultivation was often stronger than those supreme experts. And if it was supreme experts, no one would be able to see them, so paying a visit to these famous teachers was the best choice, and also the path they could choose at the moment. It was night. Su Yun stood alone at the side of the lotus pond, holding onto the lotus star sword that was glowing with a lustrous light. His fingertips were wrapped around the hilt of the lotus star sword. His hand was not clenched tightly. It was extremely relaxed, as though the lotus star sword could fall out of his palm at any time. Previously, he had always been training as he pleased, releasing the power, controlling the sword, and giving it to the sword. Now, what kind of effect would it have if he were to drive it seriously? Su Yun took a deep breath, holding onto the lotus star sword, his 5 fingers pressed onto the sword hilt, staring at the lotus flowers in the middle of the lotus pond. He exerted strength in his arms. The tip of his finger stabbed towards the hilt of the sword and slid away, squeezing the lotus star sword out of his palm. The snow-white lotus star sword immediately flew out. It was like a white rainbow in the dark night, scurrying towards the lotus pond under the moonlight. The luster on the sword body caused the pond water to sparkle. The lotus leaves were huge, and they were either intertwined with each other, or there were only gaps left between them. The lotus star sword that flew past seemed to have a soul, and actually nimbly passed through the center of the lotus leaf, not harming the lotus leaf in the slightest, and quickly shuttled back and forth in the huge lotus pond. The sword circled around the lotus pond a few times, then flew towards the shore in a swaying manner. Su Yun was overjoyed. He did not expect that the skill he had bestowed upon the sword would actually give it such a miraculous effect. It seemed like using his strength to control the sword was indeed possible. However, plop, before the lotus star sword could even fly to Su Yun, it was as if it was exhausted and directly fell into the lotus pond. Your imperial sword technique is really lousy. At this moment, a clear and melodious voice came from behind him. Su Yun, who was still scooping up the sword by the river, heard the voice, and immediately turned his head to look, only to see a lady dressed in white blade master clothes walking over. Su Yun was startled. Before he could say anything, he saw the lady's hand shake, and a cold light shot out from her palm. With a glance, it was a sword. A cold light flew out from the shuttle into the sky, striking straight at the blue moon with a majestic aura. When it spun through half of the night sky, the sword intent had already descended like a heavy snowstorm, filling the entire place. After that, the cold light flew back and disappeared into the lady's palm. She turned around and looked at Su Yun, who was in a daze, the corner of her mouth raised into a complacent smile, and said, "Do you want to learn the imperial sword technique? I can teach you." Imperial sword technique? Even if the limitless sword art was not the best imperial sword technique, it should still be considered a top-notch imperial sword technique, right? Su Yun knew that there was always someone better than him in the world. Why aren't you saying anything? The lady looked at Su Yun and asked curiously. Su Yun scratched his head, not knowing how to reply. Unexpectedly, the woman suddenly revealed a look of realization and sighed. Could it be that you are mute? Damn, he became a mute just like that? Su Yun was secretly startled. There are not many spirit cultivator who are mute. Their limbs are all damaged beyond repair. Could it be that you have been injured by someone before? How pitiful. The woman sighed again. This imagination, Su-yin decided not to say anything. He would let her be, since he did not know this woman. However, the woman did not seem to be willing to let Su-yin go. Her bright eyes turned and landed on the snow-white sword in Su-yun's hand. Her eyes immediately lit up, and she exclaimed, "Good sword, good sword." It was as smooth as snow, shining with divine light. What kind of sword was this? Can you lend it to me to take a look? Su-yin glanced at her and handed the sword over. The woman immediately reached out to take it. Her movements were careful, but when she took the sword, she could not help but look at Su-yin. "Aren't you afraid that I'll take your sword and run?" Su-yin shook his head. "What?" He pointed to the huge sword sheath behind him. "What is it? Are there a lot of swords in here?" Su-yin laughed, but did not answer. The lady did not speak further and sized up the Lotus Star sword. Looking at the dazzling Lotus Star sword, the lady's delicate and pretty face revealed a look of surprise. She caressed the 2 words on the sword hilt and muttered, "Lotus Star? Lotus Star sword? Good name. Such a treasured sword is rare in this world." She handed the sword over to Su-yin, her eyes still filled with reluctance. "Although the sword is good, it's not mine. I can only sigh with emotion. I'll give it to you." Su-yin received it. "We are also people who use swords. We might even be able to discuss sword techniques. Speaking of which, since you can't speak, how can you express your intentions? Use the profound strength to write. More or less." Su-yin used his sword to write on the ground. His movements were light and fast. When the woman saw it, her eyes lit up once again. Looking at Su-yun's posture and the trajectory of his sword, she knew that this guy's swordsmanship was quite good. However, the imperial sword technique was really bad. Chapter 790. It was unknown whether the woman was overflowing with sympathy or because Su-yin was an honest and sincere person, but she smiled and said, "Do you want to learn the imperial sword technique? Sword techniques are all inherited from master. Aren't you afraid that your master will be angry by doing this?" Su-yin once again danced with his sword and wrote on the ground. "What's there to be angry about? My master can't wait to carry forward our sex sword techniques." The woman smiled bitterly. "What's more, he died a long time ago. Now only my bloodline is left. If I can pass on this sword technique, it can be considered as doing him a favor." Hearing that, Su-yin felt that the woman seemed to have something on her mind. After a moment of silence, she only wrote 3 words on the ground. "What's wrong? In a few days, I will be dueling with someone." The woman sighed again and sat on the blue stone beside her. She hugged her knees and said helplessly, "Have you heard of the poison sword?" Su-yin shook his head. "Recently, a genius in the way of the sword has appeared. This person's sword techniques are outstanding, but his methods are sinister and vicious. He challenges people everywhere, and every time he defeats someone, they die without a complete corpse, and some of them don't even have a soul left. Recently, he sent me a battle invitation and wants to duel with me on the 15th of this month on the Hulong Island. I don't have much confidence in his poison sword, so I came here to seek a way to clear my heart and resolve the evil, hoping that I can avoid his poison sword during the duel and increase my chances of winning." Hearing that, Su-yin was puzzled and wrote, "Since you feel that you can't defeat him, why do you still want to go?" The woman looked at the words and shook her head with a bitter smile. "Some things are beyond my control. If I don't fight with him, he won't let me go. This person is a natural-born sword fanatic. As long as it's an expert, he will definitely challenge him. Even if the expert's cultivation is several times stronger than his, he will still train hard for several years or decades before challenging him again. This person simply lives for battle. Moreover, he will not give up until he wins." Su-yin was silent. "All right, let's not talk about these things anymore." Seeing that the atmosphere was not right, the woman immediately stood up, put her hands on her waist, and smiled. "Seeing that you were generous enough to lend me your sword, I will teach you my sex upper-level imperial sword technique. Hey, do you want to learn it or not?" "I want to learn, but I'm injured and can't use the profound strength." Su-yin wrote again. When the woman heard this, she was suddenly enlightened. However, she was not stingy and said, "You don't have to learn it now. I'll demonstrate it once, and you just have to remember it. In the future, when your injuries have healed, you can practice it on your own. Of course, I'm afraid that you won't be able to learn much in such a short period of time. However, it will more or less help your swordsmanship." As soon as she finished speaking, the woman once again took out her sword and activated her chi to control it. The sword was like a cold light that pierced through the night, drawing a series of dazzling afterimages in the sky. The stars dimmed, the moon lost its light, and the buzzing sound of the sword shook one's soul. At first, Suyin only had the mentality of learning if he could, but if he couldn't, then he would treat it as a show. However, as the woman's imperial sword technique became more and more profound, he was also motivated. He was a little intoxicated as he stared at the flying sword. The woman's imperial sword technique was very mystical. It was not like the limitless sword technique, which could be operated in multiple stages and needed a steady stream of profound chi-s to support it. Her imperial sword technique seemed to only need to continuously output profound chi-s, and after injecting profound chi-s, the profound chi would control the sharp sword to fly or attack. After a period of time, the profound chi would be exhausted, and if it was not injected again, the sword would fall. This kind of imperial sword technique saved a lot of profound chi-s. The sword was very agile, but because the profound chi was limited, the power would not be very strong. Wait, Suyin seemed to have thought of something. If the profound chi could be continuously added to the sword's body and maintain the sword's vitality, then could the power be the same? Thinking about it, Su Yun immediately stood up and threw the Lotus Star Sword in his hand out. Seeing Su Yun's movements, the lady stopped, blinked her eyes, and looked at him curiously. The Lotus Star Sword flew out like a white dragon, flying into the air. The sword would sometimes spin quickly, and sometimes fly straight back and forth like a cheerful spirit. Su Yun's gaze was fixated on the Lotus Star Sword. After a while, the Lotus Star sword body started to sway, and the speed of the flying shuttle decreased by a lot, as though it was about to fall again. Seeing that, Su Yun leaped into the air, and with a flick of his finger, he struck the sword body. Instantly, the Lotus Star Sword regained its vitality and quickly shuttled through the night sky. "What's going on?" The lady looked at the Lotus Star Sword and was dumbstruck. Can't feel the slightest bit of profound strength? Not using the profound strength to control the sword? How is this possible? For any imperial sword technique, controlling the chi was a prerequisite. If one did not release the chi to control the sword, how could they talk about controlling the sword? But now, Su Yun's actions had completely overturned her train of thought. Could it be that this fellow had deliberately hidden the profound chi? But that's not right. He shouldn't have done that, right? Crash! The Lotus Star Sword flew back and landed in front of Su Yun. He grabbed the sword and waved it, revealing a comforting smile on his face. "Hey, what's going on with you? Why don't I feel the profound chi on this sword? Did you hide the profound chi?" The lady stretched her head over, looked at the Lotus Star Sword carefully, and asked. Su Yun shook his head. "Then why isn't there a profound chi?" He laughed and waved his hand. The woman's eyes were filled with suspicion, and then she suddenly exclaimed, "You mean the power you used?" Su Yun nodded. "How is this possible?" She could not believe it at all. "Just now, your sword was sometimes spinning, sometimes flying, sometimes cutting, sometimes chopping, and you only touched the sword twice. Can your sword move as you please? This is impossible. You must be lying to me. Tell me, is it because of this sword?" He was speechless. He didn't believe him when he told the truth. Su Yun was too lazy to explain. Seeing that Su Yun did not speak, the lady took it as his tacit agreement. "Looking at your performance just now, you seem to have some understanding of my imperial sword technique. Your talent should be pretty good, and you are a promising talent. However, there are still some flaws in your movements just now. For example, when I use the imperial sword technique, I don't have to wait until the sword is exhausted to replenish my chi, but to judge how much chi it has, and when is the most suitable time to replenish it. This kind of imperial sword technique can only be used as a support, and when fighting with the enemy, it can be used to harass them, because you can stop replenishing your chi, and you don't have to blindly control them, so you can free up your hands to use the other sword." After saying that, the woman pulled out a crimson sword out of nowhere. But there is one more thing you need to pay attention to when using this imperial sword technique, and that is when you're replenishing your chi, you have to calculate which part of the enemy you plan to use your sword to attack, and how to coordinate with you. These movements can only be completed when you are replenishing your chi, and using your chi to change the momentum of the sword. Your timing just now is not right, and it is best to use your chi to maintain a distance. If you get close, you might give the enemy an opportunity. After the woman finished speaking, she raised the blood-red sword and started dancing. There was a sword in the sky, a sword in the world. The sword in the sky resonated with the bright moon. The sword in the world revolved around the sword in the world, but the sword in the world danced for the sword in the sky. Su Yun watched carefully. His eyes did not even blink. The woman's sword dance was extremely exquisite. There was almost no gap between the swords. The two swords cooperated smoothly. It was flawless. She seemed to have imagined an enemy for herself. In the blink of an eye, one sword 10,000 miles, one sword cutting through gold. It was either fast or fierce. It was simply breathtaking. Su Yun was itching unbearably. He could not control himself anymore, and leaped over with the Lotus Star sword. "Hey, you want to spar with me? All right, let me see your methods." The lady shouted. Her sword moved in a strange direction, thrusting towards Su Yun. Su Yun immediately raised his sword to meet her. He only used strength and speed. Luckily, the lady knew that Su Yun was injured, so she did not use her full strength, and did not even use her profound chi, and used her strength together with Su Yun to use her sword. The red sword and the Lotus Star sword collided, causing a large amount of sparks to fly out. The ripples of energy spread out in all directions, causing the water in the lotus pond to churn. "This move, Sword Wave Orchid," she said in a stern voice, "valiant and formidable. This move, Heaven-Splitting Immortal. This move, Twin Sword Harmony." The woman's body was extremely agile. Her sword dance was like a dance, coupled with the sword in the sky. Her entire person was like a celestial immortal. When the two of them exchanged blows, they did not care about victory or defeat. They simply wanted to understand the profundity of the other party's sword skills. Although Su Yun did not urge the profound chi, the strength of the sword he brandished was just right. It was just enough to block the opponent's blade. Not a bit more, not a bit less, and the sword moved in a strange direction, abnormally sharp, sensitive reaction, and terrifying speed, almost causing the woman to think that Su Yun had seen through all of her sword techniques and already knew the trajectory of her sword. My God, this sword technique looks messy on the surface, but in reality, it is flexible and has a myriad of changes. When he uses his sword, he no longer pays attention to his moves and completely relies on his speed and reaction to predict the enemy's movements. This person is simply a natural-born swordsman. It's a pity that he's a mute. Seeing that Su Yun was relaxed and at ease, she bellowed, "Be careful. I won't go easy on you." As the sound of her voice faded, the woman's hand that was holding onto the sword tightened. Her strength increased, and her speed suddenly doubled. Her seemingly delicate hand was actually filled with killing intent. At this moment, she was like an enraged lioness, aggressively attacking Su Yun. Su Yun's expression was solemn. His arms danced. The Lotus Star sword was like a swimming white dragon, circling around his body, the sword intent accompanied by the sword images, pressing down on his opponent. The lady's finger moved slightly, releasing a bit of profound strength. The cold sword in the air suddenly flashed, circling behind Su Yun. The sword tip pointed straight at his back, and without any hesitation, it pierced forward. Su Yun's expression did not change. He did not even look back. With one hand holding onto the sword, he continued to brandish it. With the other hand, he reached into the sword sheath. With lightning speed, he pulled out a blood-red sword and used it to block behind him. Clang! The cold sword was sent flying and fell to the ground. The woman was startled. She never thought that Su Yun's left hand would be so nimble. However, her absent-mindedness gave Su Yun an opportunity to take advantage of. He took a step forward. Both of his arms danced. Holding onto two swords, he actually unleashed two different sword techniques. Sword images filled the air, The two swords were like the upper and lower jaws of a bloody basin, swallowing everything. The lady staggered and almost fell to the ground. She quickly turned and activated the profound strength, turning into an afterimage and landing 100 meters away. Chapter 791. The lady stood still, looking at Su Yun, who was holding on to two swords. Her eyes lit up again. She kept her sword and clapped her hands. Powerful, powerful! I never thought that your left and right hands would be so proficient in using swords, and your strength and speed are also amazing. You don't even need the profound strength to have such a sword skill. I'm afraid that even if you use the profound strength, I won't be your match. The woman was obviously not stingy with her praise. Su Yun laughed and kept his sword. In fact, when he exchanged blows with the lady just now, Su Yun had borrowed quite a few of her moves, but most of them came from the sword world's sword techniques. Su Yun had seen over 1,000 swordsmen fight, and had even exchanged blows with over 100 first-rate swordsmen. His understanding of sword techniques had already reached a unique realm, and he no longer needed to intentionally imitate anyone's techniques. He could completely extract the advantages of all kinds of sword techniques, and according to the situation, he could create his own sword techniques to break the enemy. This required him to be able to control his sword, strength, and chi as he pleased. Although neither side had used their full strength in this battle, they both felt extremely satisfied. The woman seemed to be addicted to it and did not want to leave, so she started to discuss sword skills with Su Yun by the lotus pond. It was obvious that she had also sensed that Su Yun's sword techniques were not inferior to hers. Su Yun did not reject. It just so happened that he had been researching the imperial sword technique with his strength recently, and could use the woman's imperial sword technique as a reference, which would be of great help to him. Su Yun used the sword as a word, and the lady talked. The two of them seemed to be rather harmonious. The lady's name was Lu Xinglian, and she came from the ultimate martial world's heavenly dragon domain. As for her detailed identity, it was not revealed, but Su Yun did not know. But the poison sword knew that Lu Xinglian's sword techniques were extremely famous, but because she kept a low profile, not many people knew her. If he did not win, he would die. Therefore, in order to defeat the poison sword, Lu Xinglian personally came to the ultimate martial sacred plane to seek help from the sage Feng-Chi. However, when a master subhoodie arrived, the sage Feng-Chi and the master chatted for an entire night and could not be disturbed. Lu Xinglian could only wait in the valley, and after tomorrow's lessons were over, she would go and consult the sage Feng-Chi. Lu Xinglian was also a disciple of the sage realm, but she had already graduated, so there was no need for her to stay at the mouth of the Phoenix Pond. After knowing this, Su Yun knew that Lu Xinglian's strength was definitely not as simple as what he saw. To be able to be recognized by these great sages, how could she be an ordinary person? Unknowingly, dawn gradually arrived. Lu Xinglian glanced at the sun that was gradually climbing out of the mountain and smiled. Goodbye. Xian Er's body moved, and she disappeared. These two words were crisp and efficient. This person came quietly and left quickly. Su Yun let out a light breath and slowly moved his lips towards the place where Lu Xinglian disappeared. Goodbye. In the morning, the spirit cultivators from all over the world had already gathered in front of the Wudong tree. Regardless of whether it was the junior or supreme expert, they were all gathered together to discuss their insights from the night before. The scene was a little noisy. After all, it was the last time, and no one dared to be negligent. After waiting for about an hour, Master Subhoodie and Feng-Chi walked in. Everyone stood up and bowed to the two. Sage nodded his head, indicating for everyone to sit down. Then, he walked down the Wudong tree alone. His master sat not far away, sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed, waiting quietly. Su Yun looked around, but did not find Lu Xinglian, so he found a corner and closed his eyes to listen. The day passed very quickly. Unknowingly, the sun had already set. The sage spoke very seriously, and many of the main points were just points, leaving behind gaps for everyone to comprehend by themselves. After the last day of classes ended, people began to reluctantly leave. Su Yun had originally thought that the Master Subhoodie would also bring his students and leave, But unexpectedly, he was called to the side of the lotus pond by the sage Feng. Qi Suyun looked in the direction of the lotus pond, only to see Lu Xinglian's figure that had left earlier. It seemed like the master subhoodie had been dragged by the sage Feng Qi to discuss the matter of Lu Xinglian. Suyun shook his head. He could not help Lu Xinglian. He found a place and focused on comprehending it. Whether it was the things taught by Feng Qi or the things taught by Lu Xinglian, they all required Suyun to think and ponder over them. The sword had to be practiced, and the Tao had to be comprehended. If he could learn it just by listening to it once, then Suyun would have been invincible in the world long ago. However, not long after this person entered meditation, Suyun felt a reaction from the Qi meridian that had long been sealed in his body. They suddenly became hot, as if they were being roasted by a stove. It was extremely uncomfortable. Suyun was startled. He did not urge his qi. How could such a situation happen without any reason? He closed his eyes and cautiously looked inside. Gradually, the heat in the qi meridian and the spirit core subsided a bit, and an itchy feeling rose up. Feeling that, Suyun suddenly opened his eyes. Could this be a breakthrough? He was completely stunned. However, there were no accidents, there were no signs, and for no reason at all, it suddenly came. This made it impossible for anyone to react. All of the spirit core, qi meridian, tendons, and blood vessels reacted, and a wave of restlessness stirred in his body. Crap! Suyun knew that something was wrong. He realized that the evil aura that had been dormant for a long time in his body seemed to have changed due to his breakthrough in cultivation. Beside the lotus pond, Poison Sword, Master Subhoodie frowned slightly. Who is this? In order to obtain power, he has done almost anything, and at such a young age, he is already at the peak of his strength, and it is difficult for him to meet an opponent. Often, an expert with strength that is several times stronger than him can easily defeat him, but in a few years, he will dare to challenge him again, and most of the time, he will be defeated by him. And if he does not lose, he will cultivate for a few more years, and then challenge him again, until he defeats his opponent, and many of the people who lost to him were cruelly killed by him. So this person is called the Poison Sword. Lu Xinglian said seriously. The two paragons frowned. Such a vicious person, cruel and bloodthirsty, will only bring about his own destruction. There will definitely be someone stronger to take care of him. How could he still be alive until now? Feng Qi asked. This person had a life-saving magic treasure. He is extremely powerful. He can come and go as he pleases. No supreme expert can keep him. He has killed countless people. Naturally, he has made countless enemies. Many experts have tried to encircle and annihilate him, but none of them have succeeded. Lu Xinglian sighed. Now that he has issued a challenge to me, if nothing unexpected happens, I'm afraid that the Star Lotus will be killed. This time, I came here to ask Master for something that can calm my heart so that when I face the enemy, I can have something to protect myself. And the second reason is to bid farewell to Master. The Master who taught me the Star Lotus Sword is no longer here, and the Master who taught me the Star Lotus Heart is my only concern. This time, I came to bid farewell to Master. Feng Qi shook his head. Silly child, you'll be fine. Although it is a bit depressing to say such words before the duel, I have already measured it. This Poison Sword's strength is far above mine. His cultivation might not be as good as mine, but I am afraid that I will not be able to resist the poison he is proficient in. Since you feel that you can't beat him, why don't you just leave? The 10,000 worlds are so big, it shouldn't be difficult to avoid the battles. The Master Subhoodie said. Lu Xinglian's face revealed a bitter smile. Just as she was about to explain, a cold shout suddenly came from outside the Phoenix Pond. The voice was grand, as if it came from beyond the heavens. It was exceptionally vast. That might not be the case. For some people, it would be useless even if their opponent hid at the ends of the earth, because he would chase them to the ends of the earth. The voice was incomparably cold and filled with killing intent. Judging from the tone, the owner of the voice was probably the person who issued the challenge to Lu Xinglian. Poison Sword. However, what was surprising was that it was a female voice. Not good. The Poison Sword has actually chased us all the way here. Lu Xinglian's expression changed as she looked around. When the students at the entrance of the Phoenix Pond heard this voice, they immediately panicked. A few students hurriedly ran towards the Lotus Pond. Although Feng Qi and the Master Subhoodie were famous outside, and their disciples were spread all over the world, their strength was not high, and they were not good at fighting with others. However, Feng Qi did not reveal the slightest bit of panic. She glanced around and shouted, "Since you're here, please show yourself." As soon as his voice fell, everyone felt their vision blur. Before they could react, a figure appeared on the other side of the Lotus Pond. It was a young girl wearing a green Blade Master outfit with black edges. Her eyes were white, and her hair was dark green. Her long hair reached her waist and was tied into a ponytail with a red ribbon. Her facial features were excellent, but her skin was extremely pale. There was a blood-red mark on her right cheek, which made her look especially scary. On her back were 3 swords, 1 blue, 1 green, and 1 purple. He looked delicate and cute, but his aura was incomparably sinister and brutal, causing people to tremble in fear. Poisoned sword, Lu Xinglian clenched her teeth. "I never thought that you would actually chase me all the way here." She didn't expect that after running to the ultimate martial saint, this guy would actually follow her. "The spider spirit eye will help me find anyone I've seen before, and you are no exception. You have already been illuminated by the spider spirit eye, so no matter where you hide, I will know." The young girl said indifferently. Her voice did not seem to have much emotion, and her tone was very mechanical. "Didn't we agree to duel in 3 days? Why are you here after only 2 days?" Lu Xinglian asked. 3 days is only the time you proposed. I did not agree to it, so there is no agreement between us. Furthermore, even if I agree, 2 days have already passed, and you only have 1 day left, so you definitely cannot return to the Heavenly Dragon region. Therefore, you can only break the agreement, so why should I care about this agreement?" The young girl replied. "You?" Lu Xinglian was so angry that she couldn't speak. "Please make your move." The young girl raised her hand, and the purple sword on her back was immediately taken out by her. The sword blade that was as red as a rose pointed straight at the ground. A cold fighting spirit rose from her body. Chapter 792. Hearing the young lady's words, Lu Xinglian was shocked. "Are we going to duel now? If you want to surrender, I'm afraid the only outcome is death." The young girl gently shook her head. "There's no point in living in this world for those who are afraid of battle. If you fight me with all your might, maybe I won't kill you." Lu Xinglian hesitated, although the other party said that there were many possibilities for her to not kill him. Furthermore, there were quite a few people who had died in her hands. Lu Xinglian was also a human, so she was naturally afraid of death. Especially if she died in such a battle, she would feel that it was meaningless. Those who cultivate the Tao should not aim to fight because that kind of goal is too narrow and distorted. Those who truly seek the Tao do not seek the Tao for the sake of becoming stronger, but to become stronger for the sake of seeking the Tao. Miss, your original intentions are already wrong. If you want to change now, it's not too late. Otherwise, if this continues, not only will it be difficult for you to attain the Tao, I'm afraid that this path won't last long. At this time, the Master Subhoodie spoke. The poisoned sword glanced at the Master Subhoodie and said indifferently, "You are the Master Subhoodie, right? I've heard of you before. Rumor has it that you are a sage who knows about the past and present, and is a famous sage in the myriad of worlds. But, seeing you today, you are truly disappointing." "Oh, why does Miss say that?" "Master, don't you know that the true cultivator of the Tao is not the secular Tao, but the Tao of the heart?" "The Tao of the heart?" Everyone has a different understanding of the Tao, and everyone's pursuit is also different. Some people worship sages, hope that the world will be peaceful, and that all living beings will be saved. Some people desire eternity, and all living things have their own thoughts, and my pursuit is to step onto the subversion of martial arts, to pursue the supreme Tao of martial arts. If you think that my path is wrong, then the one who is truly wrong should be you. The voice of the poisoned sword was sonorous, powerful, and merciless. The Master Subhoodie was silent for a moment, then cupped his fists towards the poisoned sword. "Miss is right. I have received your teachings." Humph! The poisoned sword turned his head and stared coldly at Lu Xinglian, and said in a low voice, "Then, let's begin. Don't waste any more time. Do we have to fight? Are you still afraid of battle? It doesn't matter if you pursue your martial Tao, but please don't pull others onto your martial Tao. They have their own paths to walk." At this time, Feng Qi stood in front of Lu Xinglian and said to the poisoned sword in a deep voice. Poisoned sword frowned. "You pursue the Tao in your heart. This is admirable, but your way of doing things is not acceptable. My student does not wish to duel with you, so I advise you to leave quickly. Otherwise, I will not be polite," Feng Qi said in a deep voice. With a shout, a large number of people appeared around the lotus pond. The poisoned sword looked around, then his gaze landed on Lu Xinglian and said indifferently, "So you're saying you're refusing to duel with me?" "No, I choose to duel with you." Lu Xinglian took a deep breath. "I know that you are a person who will not give up. If there is no victory or defeat between us, you will definitely not let me go. This time, Master has protected me, and next time, he might not be so lucky, so today I might as well settle the score with you." "Xinglian, don't be rash. This person came so suddenly, and you haven't made any preparations yet. If you fight with her, you will definitely be at a disadvantage. Temporarily avoid the attack and think of a plan," Feng Qi said in a low voice. The most powerful method of the poison sword was not her sinister and ruthless methods, but the true use of poison. If she was unable to restrain her poison, Lu Xinglian's chances of winning would be extremely low. In the ultimate martial world, using poison was not a despicable method. The poison sword was so aggressive that it had reached a point where it had no choice but to fight. Lu Xinglian sighed, stared at the poisoned sword, and said, "This is the mouth of the Phoenix Pond, a quiet place for my master. If you want to fight, you can, but don't fight here. Let's change places." "All right, I'll wait for you at the lonely mountain outside the valley." With a shout, the poisoned sword leaped up, transforming into a green light and flying out of the valley. Seeing that, Lu Xinglian immediately followed. What kind of wise man was Feng Qi? Seeing that his student had made such a decision, he could tell that she did not want to implicate him. Although Star Lotus is a swordsman, she still did not escape from her responsibilities. "We should quickly head to the lonely mountain and support her," Master Subhoodie said solemnly. "That's right, let's go now." After Feng Qi finished speaking, he held onto his bamboo cane and flew into the sky as well. The mouth of the Phoenix Pond creaked as a large number of figures flew out of the valley. At this moment, in a corner of the Phoenix Pond, a figure sat cross-legged on the ground. At this moment, the devil chi and blood chi around this person's body were like a chimney, constantly flowing out of his body. Suyin closed his eyes tightly. His face was extremely pale. Beads of perspiration the size of beans were like raindrops, continuously flowing out of his body. The evil chi in his body was becoming more and more restless, and his cultivation had already forcefully broken through, stepping into the 9th stage of the Sky Spirit Master. When the Spirit Core opened once again, the Chi Meridian was pushed to its limit by the profound Chi that was spewing out from the Spirit Core, as though it could explode at any time, and under the temptation of the profound Chi, the evil Chi that had been accumulating all this time was also churning in his body, unceasingly. No, if this continued, there would only be death. The thick evil Chi would completely devour his soul. I have to think of a way. Yes, the master and the sage must have a way. Su Yun suddenly opened his eyes, and at the moment his eyes were also bloodshot. He staggered to his feet, and with heavy steps, he quickly ran towards the mouth of the Phoenix Pond. With every step he took, there would be a deep footprint on the ground. The restless devil chi and blood chi were still circling around in the footprints, like the footprints of a demon. However, what made Su Yun even more puzzled was that when he reached the mouth of the Phoenix Pond, he could not see a single person. He stumbled all the way into the valley. However, it was as if the people at the mouth of the Phoenix Pond had evaporated into thin air. Not a single figure could be seen, and even the master Subhoodie and his students had disappeared. Helpless, Su Yun could only hold onto his aching chest and run towards the lotus pond. Plop! As he fell into the lotus pond, the ice-cold pond water wrapped around him tightly. This coolness entered his body, causing Su Yun's restless evil chi to calm down a little, but it was only limited to a little. Relying on these, he was still unable to suppress the evil chi in Su Yun's body. He fell into the water and sat cross-legged, chanting the tranquil heart mantra that the master Subhoodie had taught him. The evil chi started to be suppressed, but the evil chi that leaked out from his body became denser and denser, directly dyeing the clear lotus pond black. All the fish in the pond turned white, and a large number of lotus flowers withered, leaving only the huge lotus flower that bloomed at the bottom of the pond. As though it was affected by Su Yun's evil aura, the lotus released a large amount of snow light, intending to purify the evil aura. However, although the light looked strong, it was extremely weak to the evil aura, and after fighting against the evil aura for less than half an incense stick of time, the snow light was submerged and the lotus was attacked, and in the blink of an eye, it withered. However, the moment the lotus flower died, a wave of spirit intent followed the evil chi from its roots and entered Su Yun's body, as if it had made its final attack, intending to control the evil chi in Su Yun's body. But in the end, it was like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. The entire lotus pond was like a pool of ink. Su Yun felt more and more uncomfortable staying inside, and with a whoosh, he jumped out. Although the lotus pond was dark, it had at least saved his life. The evil chi in his body did not continue to burn more and more vigorously, and was temporarily controlled. However, this was not a long-term plan. If he did not think of a way to completely calm this evil chi, Su Yun would definitely die. As he chanted the tranquil heart mantra, he walked forward. However, not long after, he was shocked to discover that the evil chi in his body had suddenly decreased by a few points, and his mind had also become a little clearer. A cool breeze blew past his face, and his state of mind gradually calmed down. He looked around, but did not find any experts. Instead, he saw the huge wudong tree. Could it be that this wudong tree has the effect of dispelling the evil chi in my body? Su Yun thought. Without hesitation, he immediately moved towards the wudong tree, and when he reached the bottom of the tree, the restlessness of the evil chi became weaker and weaker, which made Su Yun extremely happy. He sat cross-legged and chanted the incantation again, calming the turbulence in his body and slowly recuperating. At the same time, the wudong tree also reacted. The branches of the tree drooped down at the same time. The branches swayed gently, the leaves swayed, and specks of green light leaked out from the green leaves, like flowers scattered by a goddess, floating towards Su Yun, landing on his body, and seeping in. Su Yun's pale skin gradually released a circle of green light. It was extremely magical. The exuberant business circled around his body. Flowers and plants grew under his body. Butterflies attracted, and green filled the surroundings. The 10,000 flower seed in the depths of his body also seemed to have been lured by this miraculous power and revived once again. His internal organs, tendons, and blood vessels were all enveloped by life force, as if he was wearing a layer of sturdy armor. No matter how restless the evil chi was, it was difficult to break through. After sitting quietly under the wudong tree for a long time, Su Yun opened his eyes again. At this moment, his eyes were incomparably clear, and deep in his heart, something seemed to have taken root and sprouted. An indescribable and miraculous spirit intent was born. All of the evil chi was suppressed. Not only was it suppressed, it was also dissolved by quite a bit. He stood up and looked at the gigantic wudong tree in front of him. He knew that this wudong must have helped him. How could such a divine object not have a spirit? Immediately, Su Yun respectfully clasped his hands towards the wudong tree. "Who are you? Why are you here?" At this moment, a shout came from behind him. Su Yun turned around, only to see a disciple from the mouth of the Phoenix Pond walking over. "I am a student of the Master Subhoodie." Su Yun immediately explained. "A student of the Master?" The man looked at Su Yun from head to toe and then revealed a look of understanding. "Oh, it's you. I've seen you before. That day, you did indeed come with Master. Greetings, senior brother. May I ask where Master and Sage are now? Why is there no one in the valley?" Su Yun asked. "Everyone has gone to the lonely mountain at the side. It is said that our senior sister Lu is going to duel with the poison sword. Teacher is currently supporting senior sister Lu." The man shook his head. "Senior sister Lu? Poison sword? Duel?" Su Yun was startled, but suddenly he seemed to have thought of something and immediately asked, "Your senior sister Lu is Lu Xinglian?" "That's right. It's a pity that I was arranged to guard the mouth of the Phoenix Pond. Otherwise, I would have been able to see senior sister Lu's heroic bearing," the man said regretfully. However, Su Yun had already leaped into the sky and rushed towards the lonely mountain. Chapter 793. The sudden breakthrough surprised Su Yun. But what surprised him even more was that the moment he broke through to the 9th stage of the Sky Spirit Master, he had already reached a state where he was about to break through, as though if he had the opportunity, he would be able to step into the 10th stage of the Sky Spirit Master and advance to the Spirit Emperor. Such a change caused Su Yun to be especially shocked. This was the benefit of the Imperial Battle Robe, to be able to bring such a powerful and terrifying effect to a spirit cultivator. The Imperial Battle Robe was truly worthy of being called a divine object. The direction of Lonely Mountain was not far, and after flying for less than an incense stick of time, they arrived. From afar, on top of the lush green and short mountain, two figures were crazily intertwining. One basket and one green like two long rainbows. One of them was Lu Xinglian. At this moment, she was holding onto the red sword with one hand, while the other hand was constantly changing, holding onto the sword art. The cold sword around her was quickly shuttling back and forth, sometimes protecting her, sometimes attacking the enemy. It was simply like a living creature. However, the opponent was not simple either. That person used a purple sword, which was especially fast and violent. The purple sword swung out, its speed was not fast, and its power was not strong, but the body of the sword spewed out a large amount of purple mist. Upon closer inspection, the mist was actually sword chi. This person's understanding of sword chi had already reached the pinnacle. The sword chi should have been sharp and fierce, but she had deliberately turned it into a misty and sand-like state. However, the sword chi did not lose its sharpness, and, as long as it touched it, it would be minced into pieces. The appearance of these sword chi was like a natural barrier that protected the poisonous sword. What was even more troublesome was that these sword chi did not affect the poisonous sword at all, and she could travel through it as she pleased. Lu Xinglian's attack was especially fast and fierce. Her aura was aggressive, and her fighting style was very threatening. But her opponent was still at ease, neither fast nor slow. When Lu Xinglian's sword pierced over, she directly entered the sword chi. And when Lu Xinglian's sword struck the sword chi, it was like a sword piercing into a meat grinder, causing a large amount of sparks to fly out. The sword chi on the sword body was completely dispersed, and even the arm holding the sword was shaken. She could only withdraw her sword. Otherwise, not to mention whether or not her arm would be broken, even the sword would be destroyed. With this terrifying sword chi, Lu Xinglian's attack could be said to be useless. Even if she used the Imperial Sword technique to charge into the sword chi, the soft, profound chi would be completely exhausted by the sword chi. This was only the beginning of the battle, but the situation was already unfavorable for Lu Xinglian. Su Yun was startled. His gaze turned to the poisoned sword, but with just a glance, his face became gloomy. Bai Yinshan, he really did not expect that the so-called poisonous sword was actually her. Seeing Bai Yinshan's transformation, Su Yun was surprised and sighed. She had changed too much, almost to the point that people could not recognize her. Ever since they parted ways in Suicide Valley, he didn't know where she had gone or what kind of experiences and fortuitous encounters she had that caused such a change. Bai Yinshan's sword had already abandoned the nimbleness of the past and was now more inclined towards being strange and fierce. He had experienced Lu Xinglian's sword techniques before, and had many variations in defense, but facing Bai Yin Shan, Lu Xinglian was becoming more and more powerless. Su Yin could see that Bai Yin Shan had not used her full strength. However, she was obviously tired of it and did not want to waste any more time with Lu Xinglian. She immediately pulled out the second sword on her back, the dark green sword. The sword also spat out a large amount of poisonous gas, which filled half of the sky above Lonely Mountain. Lu Xinglian was caught off guard and was devoured by the gas. She immediately screamed and fell from the sky. Poison gas. Su Yun's face changed. He immediately flew over. Lu Xinglian's clothes had been corroded to the point that they were tattered, and even her skin and flesh had been damaged. In the blink of an eye, a beautiful woman had turned into a bloody person, looking incomparably miserable. Master Subhoodie, Feng Qi, and the others who were watching from below were already in an uproar. Lu Xinglian directly fell to the ground. The sword qi around her body dissipated, and she was no longer able to fight. This move was truly terrifying, but it was also enough to prove Bai Yin Shan's strength. Su Yin was even more shocked. Although Bai Yin Shan's sword technique was not strong, the poison gas was so terrifying. The 3 swords on her back were probably not ordinary swords. However, Su Yin did not care so much. Although he had not known Lu Xinglian for a long time, the two of them had already talked about everything and were extremely compatible. Furthermore, Lu Xinglian had unreservedly taught Su Yun her imperial sword technique. So how could Su Yun just stand by and watch? Senior Sister Lu. The disciples at the mouth of the Phoenix Pond shouted anxiously and anxiously ran towards Lu Xinglian. Feng Qi was even more shocked. She anxiously shouted, "Quick, bring the Star Lotus back." "Bring it back?" The battle is not over yet," Bai Yin Shan shouted coldly, holding onto the purple sword and the poisoned sword with both hands. With a burst of qi, he smashed towards Lu Xinglian, who was below. He was aggressive and invincible. "Which? You are too arrogant. If you want to hurt Senior Sister Lu, you have to pass through me first." A student shouted and went up to meet them. This student possessed the cultivation of a 9th stage of the Sky Spirit Master. Wielded a spear, his entire body was filled with true divine spirit qi. His strength was extraordinary. However, Bai Yin Shan did not care at all. She raised the poisoned sword and pointed it at the man's head. With a slight twist of her wrist, the sword blade spewed out a large amount of poison gas. "Your poison gas can't hurt me." That person anxiously urged his qi to resist and roared with all his might. In an instant, he was engulfed by the poison gas. "That might not be the case," Bai Yin Shan snorted. He ignored the man and continued to rush towards Lu Xinglian. When the poison gas dissipated, a blood-red skeleton fell out of the poison gas. It was the student from before. A 9th stage Sky Spirit Master cultivator had died just like that. His miserable death caused people to tremble in fear. When the students saw this, they were filled with hatred and fear. "Damned witch, she's simply too arrogant." Everyone attacked together. "Let's fight it out with her." "All right, let's fight it out with her." The crowd seemed a little excited. "All of you, retreat. Do not make unnecessary sacrifices. Those below the 5th stage of the Sky Spirit Master, leave." Lu Xinglian covered her wound and stood up shakily. Her voice was still trembling. However, before she could finish her words, 2 figures appeared in front of them. With a glance, they were the Master Subhoodie and the Saint Feng Qi. "Teacher." Everyone cried out anxiously. "Even you want to stop me?" Bai Yin Shan was completely enraged. "We agreed on a duel, but in the end, you guys have interfered time and time again." What a group of despicable people. However, since you have chosen to stand opposite me, don't blame me for being ruthless." With that, Bai Yin Shan pointed the 2 swords straight at the 2 sages. "Teacher." Lu Xinglian pushed away the people beside her and rushed forward without a care for anything else. Although the Master Subhoodie and the Saint Feng Qi were unparalleled in wisdom, their cultivations were not high and were not suitable for fighting. How could they fight with the infamous Bai Yin Shan? However, Bai Yin Shan's speed was too fast. The 2 sages also activated their profound strength. It seemed like they planned to use their own strength to forcefully stop Bai Yin Shan. It was just at this critical moment, an afterimage suddenly swept over from the side. A snow light streaked across the sky, striking towards Bai Yin Shan in a breathtaking manner. Bai Yin Shan was shocked. She anxiously raised her sword to counterattack. With a bang sound, Bai Yin Shan's entire body was sent flying, directly crashing into a mountain not far away, causing the mountain to crack. Everyone was stunned. They all turned to look, only to see Su Yun, who was dressed in a black robe, floating in the air with a snow-white sword in his hand. "This is Junior Brother Su Yun. Junior Brother Su, it's you. Oh my God, it's Junior Brother Su." The students of the Master Sub-Hoodie were the first to recognize Su Yun, and all of them cried out in joy. When the Master Sub-Hoodie saw Su Yun, who suddenly appeared, his old face revealed a look of relief, but more of it was worry. "Su Yun, do not activate the profound chi. This person will be dealt with by your master. You are injured. Once you use the profound chi, your injuries will worsen, and that will be bad." The Master Sub-Hoodie said. "Master, don't worry. I will use less profound chi, and I will be fine." Su Yun said indifferently, his gaze staring into the distance. Dust flew everywhere, rocks flew everywhere, but very quickly, a figure flew out. It was Bai Yin Shan. She held onto her two swords. Her expression did not change much, and her gaze also landed on Su Yun. "Su Yun, long time no see," she said indifferently. Even though she had met an old friend, the change in her face had become fewer and fewer. She did not reveal any surprise because of Su Yun's appearance, as if Su Yun's arrival was within her expectations. But was that possible? It could only mean that she no longer cared about everyone in this world. "I thought you went back to the Sky Martial Continent. How could I go back to that realm where the weak are struggling at death's door? So you think you're a strong warrior?" Su Yun frowned. Bai Yin Shan shook his head, but said, "I will become a strong warrior, and I will only become stronger and stronger." Hearing that, Su Yun was not surprised. Bai Yin Shan had always been a martial arts fanatic. He knew this a long time ago. But looking at the current Bai Yin Shan, he was more or less sorrowful. After all, Bai Yin Shan still had a trace of conscience back then, but the current her seemed to have started to lose herself. In order to win, in order to obtain power, she had already begun to use any means necessary. "These two are my teachers, and they are both my senior brothers and sisters. This battle, you win. You can leave." Su Yun held onto the Lotus Star sword tightly and said indifferently. However, Bai Yin Shan still shook his head. "According to my rules, my duel with Lu Xinglian has not ended yet, so I must continue fighting with her. If not, I will not leave. This kind of victory is not what I want either. Since you want to fight, then come. Don't hurt them," Lu Xinglian shouted. "If it didn't stop me, how could this have happened?" Bai Yin Shan asked. Hearing that, Lu Xinglian gritted her teeth in anger. However, Su Yun spoke again. "Since you don't want to listen to my advice, then I can only stop you." Su Yun said, his body shifted and flew in front of them, holding onto his sword. Seeing that, Bai Yin Shan's eyes congealed. Chapter 794. Su Yun, although there will be a day when I challenge you, but not today, Bai Yin Shan said coldly. "If you don't move aside, then don't blame me for being ruthless. Are you very confident in your own strength?" Su Yun looked at Bai Yin Shan indifferently. "I have obtained the poison, sharp, and broken swords. I am no longer the Bai Yin Shan of the past. Su Yun, I know that you have obtained a fortuitous encounter, and your strength is extraordinary. But today, you might not be my match." Bai Yin Shan said, "Aren't you going a little overboard? Although your current strength is not bad, during this period of time, am I just going to stay where I am? Bai Yin Shan, make your move. Let me see exactly how strong you are." Su Yun was neither arrogant nor impatient. He spoke out directly. Although Bai Yin Shan's words were filled with confidence, he was not afraid, because he was also very confident in himself. "All right," Bai Yin Shan bellowed. Without further ado, she simply replied, and immediately moved, leaving behind a row of afterimages in the air, rushing towards Su Yun. The two swords, one on the left and one on the right, released a myriad of rainbow lights, like a goshawk striking the water. they struck towards Su Yun. It was truly an imposing sight. However, Su Yun did not want to waste any time, and immediately raised his hand and flicked. Crash! The divine power of the imperial battle robe pervaded the air. A circle of golden light enveloped her body, causing Bai Yin Shan's face to change. Before she could even react to what had happened, the surging profound strength in her body was like a receding tide, quickly dissipating, overflowing out of her body and rushing towards Su Yun. What? Bai Yin Shan's face changed. She anxiously retreated. However, the profound strength that he absorbed from Bai Yin Shan had once again stimulated the evil qi in his body, causing the evil qi to fluctuate. Su Yun coughed violently, his face becoming extremely ugly. Fortunately, the power of the Wutong tree was still there, and the evil qi only lasted for a while before it was calmed down. Bai Yin Shan leaped backwards and stared at Su Yun coldly. "You're injured?" "Not really. I don't fight with injured people." "Then you can leave." "Possible. Then there's nothing to say." Su Yun once again assumed a stance. Bai Yin Shan secretly clenched her teeth. "What kind of magic treasure is that? Why was my profound energy absorbed by you?" "You have 3 treasured swords. I have a divine robe, but your sword is not as good as my robe." Su Yun smiled. "I have this robe. You are not my match." "That might not be the case." Bai Yin Shan was enraged. Both swords clashed, the sword blades releasing a large amount of qi. A fog-like sword qi. A dark green poisonous gas. 2 balls of qi flew towards Su Yun as if they were alive. If they were swallowed by the sword qi, they would instantly turn into dregs. If swallowed by the poisonous gas, the person would be instantly corroded until only a layer of blood and bones remained. Even the soul would not be left. These 2 auras were extremely fatal. If an existence like the Spirit Emperor were to touch this aura, he would probably die. However, Su Yun did not move at all. He just stood there quietly, allowing the 2 clouds of death to attack him. Bai Yin Shan snorted, her eyes congealed, her pupils blazing with passion. Su Yun's actions were simply a blatant disdain for her. Does he really have the confidence to take my move? Hopefully, it wouldn't be too embarrassing. Bai Yin Shan thought. She knew that this move would not be able to defeat Su Yun, but she should at least beat him to a pulp. But everything was not as simple as Bai Yin Shan thought. Just as the 2 clouds of death got close to Su Yun, they suddenly became thinner, and then they directly disappeared. Bai Yin Shan's eyes were wide open. She was dumbstruck as she watched this scene. She stared at Su Yun with all her might, making sure that she was not mistaken. Her most terrifying technique was actually dissolved by Su Yun just like that. "I've said it before, your sword is not as good as my clothes. Bai Yin Shan, with me here today, you can't do as you please. For the sake of our past relationship, I'll give you 2 choices. Either you leave or you die." Su Yun was definitely not going to be merciful. From a moment Bai Yin Shan planned to make a move against the Master Sub-Hoodie, he had already placed this young lady who was deeply tied to him as an enemy. Regardless of whether it was the matter of the Sky Martial Continent or the Battle of the Suicide Valley, he would never compare this relationship with the Master Sub-Hoodie. Furthermore, he had never had a good impression of this young lady, if not for the fact that his current situation was not suitable for him to use the profound qi. He would have already made his move. But in the end, he had underestimated Bai Yin Shan's stubbornness. She clenched her teeth, and a sinister look appeared on her pale face. "Su Yun, in my dictionary, there has never been the word fear of battle. You and I have yet to fight head-on, and you want me to leave just like that? I am not willing." With that, Bai Yin Shan bellowed, and raised her sword to attack again. But at the moment, more than half of the profound strength in her body had been absorbed by Su Yun, and her attack this time was far inferior to before. Su Yun raised a Lotus Star sword and released it. When the Lotus Star sword left his hand, his 5 fingers quickly flicked the sword hilt under the tree, like a musician playing music. The Lotus Star sword left his hand, and with a few flicks of his fingers, it seemed to have come to life, and directly flew out, striking towards Bai Yin Shan. There was no profound qi on the sword. It was as if Su Yun had thrown it over on purpose. However, Bai Yinshan knew that the current Su Yun was many times stronger than the one she had seen before. So how could she dare to let her guard down? He immediately raised his sword and struck towards the Lotus Star sword, intending to blast it away, and then force his way towards the unarmed Su Yun. However, when the dark green poison sword swung over, the Lotus Star sword actually moved to the side in an extremely strange manner, dodging it, and then fiercely slashed towards Bai Yinshan's body. The terrifying force caused even the void to tremble. Bai Yinshan was shocked. Without any profound strength, this could not be the Imperial Sword technique. However, if it wasn't the Imperial Sword technique, how could it have such an effect? She immediately raised her other sword and greeted the Lotus Star sword. The Lotus Star sword swung out on its own, releasing a large number of sword images. It actually clashed with Bai Yinshan alone and only relied on brute force. One person against one sword. But the sword seemed to be controlled by a swordsman with exquisite swordsmanship. Is this Su Yun's imperial sword with his strength? Lu Xinglian, who was below, opened her eyes wide as she looked at the battle above in a daze. Gradually, the Lotus Star sword's strength could no longer keep up. Su Yun leaped and landed beside Bai Yinshan. Seeing that the other party was rushing over, Bai Yinshan immediately retreated, but Su Yun did not attack her, but raised two fists and quickly punched the Lotus Star sword body a few times. Sometimes he would move to the front of the sword and attack the sword hilt, and sometimes he would move to the back and attack the sword blade. Sometimes he would move to the back and attack the sword blade, either up or down. Even if he could be injured by the sword blade, he did not stop, just like a master sculpting a statue. The Lotus Star sword was like a ball, flying to the left and then to the right. At first, the arc of its flight was quite large, but towards the end, its speed became slower and slower. In the end, the entire snow-white sword did not move at all. It just floated in the air. Su Yun looked at Bai Yinshan indifferently, extended his finger, and flicked the sword hilt of the Lotus Star sword. Wah! The Lotus Star sword flew out like a missile. A long stream of air dragged along its tail, fiercely thrusting towards Bai Yinshan. This attack, it was simply speechless. Bai Yinshan clenched her teeth. The two swords were held tightly by her. Her expression sinister. She stared at the incoming Lotus Star sword. Both swords came out at the same time, intersecting with the Lotus Star sword. Clang! The heaven and earth shook like the sound of an ancient bell. Before anyone could see clearly, Bai Yinshan was taken away by the Lotus Star sword, falling straight towards the plains in the distance. Boom! Bai Yinshan landed on the ground. The powerful force shattered the plains, causing a large amount of dust to fill the air. In that attack just now, Su Yun did not use any profound qi, but he had suppressed all of his power onto the Lotus Star sword, and then gave it a direction, allowing it to use its power. Bai Yinshan choosing to face it head-on was actually a wrong choice. This attack, if he received it, he would lose. If he dodged it, he would win. Because Su Yun did not use any tricks, when the sword flew out, it would only fly straight forward, and would not chase after Bai Yinshan like a living creature like before. However, Su Yun could tell that Bai Yinshan would not dodge, so he made his move. Her personality was like this. The plains crumbled, and everyone immediately flew up, flying towards Bai Yinshan. Su Yun did not hesitate, and anxiously rushed over. After dispersing the smoke, he saw that Bai Yinshan had already stood up. Her lower abdomen had been pierced by the Lotus Star sword. The sword had already sunk into the ground, showing how powerful the sword was. She did not have much profound qi left, and was injured at the moment. Even if she won against Su Yun, she would not be able to leave. You've lost. Su Yun landed on the ground, pinched his hand, and the Lotus Star sword that was underground immediately flew out, landing in his palm. Powerful! Bai Yinshan wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and stared at Su Yun solemnly. Without using profound qi, just relying on his strength to drive the sword to defeat me, I am convinced. Su Yun did not say anything. However, in today's battle, even though I have lost, I will not admit defeat just like that, Su Yun. In the future, I will definitely challenge you again. At that time, I will definitely defeat you. You which, you're still trying to be brave when you're already like this. You're not our senior brother Su Yun's match. You should scram quickly. I think it's better to kill her, otherwise this which will come back in the future. That's right, senior brother Su Yun. You must cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. The students at the side immediately started to shout. All of them were extremely arrogant. After witnessing Su Yun's strength, they all called him senior brother, of course. With Su Yun here, their courage had also increased by several times. But towards the attitude of these people, Bai Yin Shan did not care at all. He had finished speaking and immediately turned to leave. It was unknown what magic treasure he activated, but his figure gradually disappeared, and very quickly, no one could stop him. Su Yun immediately looked around, but could not find any trace of Bai Yin Shan. It seemed that Bai Yin Shan had obtained quite a few treasures, and it would be extremely difficult to keep her here. Chapter 795. After Bai Yin Shan left, Su Yun heaved a sigh of relief. He descended from the sky and sat down cross-legged. He closed his eyes and meditated, drawing out the power of the Wutong tree in his body, suppressing the restless hostility in his body. Although he did not rely too much on the profound strength in this battle, he had used the power of the Imperial Battle Robe. If not for the Battle Robe absorbing more than half of Bai Yin Shan's profound strength, it would have been impossible for Su Yun to defeat Bai Yin Shan so easily. Bai Yin Shan's attainments in swordsmanship was not low, but the strange power of the Imperial Battle Robe made her unable to see through Su Yun's current methods. Adding the series of words that Su Yun had said previously had angered her. It caused her to lose so quickly and miserably. If it was a fair battle, it would be hard to predict who would win. Master Subhoodie and the rest hurried over. Su Yun, are you all right? Master Subhoodie quickly walked over and asked. Don't worry, Master, I'm fine. Su Yun revealed a smile. Master Subhoodie did not speak further. He sat cross-legged behind Su Yun, raised his palm, and placed it on his back. Waves after waves of spirit life chi that could penetrate one's heart and spleen flowed into Su Yun's body. This chi was like spring water, cool and clear, causing people to feel extremely comfortable. After a long while, Su Yun's complexion recovered a lot, and the Master Subhoodie stopped. Thank you, Master. Su Yun stood up and bowed. Don't be too polite, Su Yun. If not for you this time, I'm afraid it would have been very difficult for us to deal with this poisoned sword. Master Subhoodie shook his head. I, Feng Qi, would like to express my sincerest gratitude to you on behalf of everyone at the mouth of Feng Qi. Feng Qi walked over and bowed respectfully to Su Yun. I don't dare. Sage Feng Qi, this junior doesn't dare. Su Yun anxiously supported Feng Qi. He had always respected this kind of great sage. Although she had only listened to Feng Qi's lessons for a few days, no matter who it was, they all admired her. Even though her cultivation was not high, her knowledge had convinced countless people. Su Yun, so you lied to me, and you even said you were mute. At this moment, a slightly angry voice was heard. Su Yun turned his head and saw Lu Xinglian walking over with the help of her two junior sisters. Su Yun laughed bitterly. If you want to say that I'm mute, then I might as well not speak. You are so cunning. Lu Xinglian still wanted to say a few more words to Su Yun, but the moment she said those words, her wound was pulled, causing her to grimace in pain. Hurry up and treat your injuries. You've been corroded by the poisonous gas. If you don't treat it soon, I'm afraid it will affect your cultivation and talent. Su Yun said. Got it. Lu Xinglian snorted. Su Yun, you should also go back quickly. Go to the mouth of the Phoenix Pond to recuperate. There is no hurry to go back in today's battle, although you did not use the profound chi, but you came into contact with a lot of profound chi. It will still affect your injuries. Master Subhoodie said. Yes. Everyone replied and began to retreat towards the mouth of the Phoenix Pond in an orderly manner. Lu Xinglian was arranged to heal her injuries, and now that Bai Yin Shan's challenger had most likely shifted to Su Yun, she was temporarily safe, but since her injuries were not good, she did not dare to leave the ultimate martial sacred plane. Su Yun was brought to the Lotus Pond. After all, he had just fought a great battle and needed to stabilize his evil chi. Otherwise, if the evil chi exploded, the consequences would be unimaginable. However, just as everyone entered the lotus pond, the scene in front of them shocked them. The entire lotus pond was filled with a stench. The water was completely black. The fish in the pond were all flipped over, all dead, and none of the lotus flowers were alive. Feng Qi was stunned. What's going on? That. This. Suyin scratched his head, feeling a little embarrassed. Yinner, did you do this? Master Subhoodie asked doubtfully. Suyin laughed awkwardly. Shinner immediately cupped her fist towards Feng Qi and said, I'm sorry, Saint. After listening to your lesson, I found a place to meditate and recuperate, but my cultivation suddenly broke through, and for a moment, the profound qi in my body surged, activating the evil qi. I thought that the water of the lotus pond would be able to suppress my evil qi, so I jumped in. Who knew that it would become like this? When Feng Qi heard that it was Su Yun who did it, he did not say anything. He only sighed and said, You are surrounded by evil qi, and you still disregarded everything to come and save us from danger. If I were to blame you because of this pond water, it would seem that I am narrow-minded, and this is fine. After 100 years, the pond water will still return to normal for now. Let's just leave it like this. Thank you for your forgiveness, Saint. Su Yin immediately said, There's no need to thank me, but you just said that your cultivation suddenly broke through? What's going on? A sage's lecture is only about his experiences. It has little to do with whether or not his cultivation has increased. I'm afraid that your sudden breakthrough in cultivation is not a good thing. Master Subhoodie also opened his mouth. Everything has a gradual process. If you break this rule, sometimes you might have an unexpected harvest, but sometimes it will be a situation of eternal damnation. Master is right, but I don't know what's going on either. Su Yun said in distress. Then how did you suppress your evil qi when it was drawn out by the profound qi? Speaking of which, I still have to thank Sage Feng Qi for this. Your Wutong tree saved me at the critical moment, and it was the divine power within it that helped me suppress this evil qi. Su Yin laughed. Unexpectedly, when Feng Qi heard this, his face changed, and he immediately ran to the Wutong tree. Su Yin and the rest were confused and followed him. Seeing that the Wutong tree was safe and sound, Feng Qi heaved a sigh of relief. Su Yun laughed bitterly. He felt that Feng Qi was worried that he would harm her tree as well. However, it was also true that the flowers on this tree were extraordinary. The reason why Feng Qi was able to stay here was because of this tree. It was fine if the lotus pond was gone, but if the Wutong tree was gone, then the situation would be huge. You said that your hostility was once suppressed by the parasol tree's help, right? At this time, Feng Qi asked. Yes. Sit under the Wutong tree again. Su Yun's head was filled with fog, but he did not refuse. He walked over and sat down cross-legged under the tree. Feng Qi walked over, extended his withered hand, and gently caressed the trunk of the Wutong tree. Then he closed his eyes, quietly sensing something. The Wutong tree reacted once again. The dense branches began to gently sway, and the leaves rustled. There was clearly no wind, but there was such a scene. Circles of emerald green light appeared on Feng Qi's body. After about 10 breaths of time, she opened her eyes. Your body might not just contain evil qi, Feng Qi said solemnly. When Su Yin heard this, he was shocked. Could it be that his body was an in? Why is everything going in? Teacher, what is it? Su Yun asked. A person. Human. Could it be Qingyu? That's not right. Qingyu is in the sword sheath. A dead person, or rather, a person's 3 souls and 7 spirits. A person's 3 souls and 7 spirits. Su Yun suddenly thought of the soul of the Supreme Sect Lord that he had devoured when he was destroying the Supreme Sect. Could it be this person's soul? This soul should have been devoured by you, right? Feng Qi asked. That's right. Su Yun nodded his head. At that time, the situation was critical. If I did not devour his soul, I was afraid I would have lost my life. However, you did not completely digest his power. His power is stored in your body along with the evil qi, but his power is different from the evil qi. It will not easily become restless, but once it becomes restless, it will allow you to break through your current cultivation This energy is too strong. What? Su Yin was startled. There's such a good thing? Doesn't that mean that I don't have to do anything in the future to break through? With the help of this power, your future path of cultivation will leap by 1,000 miles. It will be extremely easy for you to cultivate, and maybe within 3 to 5 months, you will break through again. However, there are pros and cons to everything. If you do not control this power well and allow it to suddenly erupt, then your body and soul will instantly collapse. Feng Qi said solemnly, "This is also the reason why you suddenly broke through. However, this is not a good thing. From the looks of it, the possibility of this power suddenly erupting is not small." Hearing that, Su Yun's face immediately became gloomy. Master Subhoodie naturally heard all of these words. He did not expect Su Yun's current situation to be so complicated. "Then, Sage, what should I do now?" Su Yun asked. "Quickly consume this energy." "How do I consume it?" Consuming a holy medicine can not only transform all of the energy in your body into your cultivation, allowing you to instantly step into the supreme realm, it can also reduce the evil aura in your body by more than half. However, this holy medicine is not easy to obtain. It is a very high-level treasure. Feng Qi said in a low voice. "Is there no other way?" "There are many ways, but this is the simplest. Originally, you could have used up this energy in a battle, but there is still a huge amount of evil aura in your body, causing you to be unable to use the profound qi or even come into contact with it. So your situation is very complicated." Feng Qi sighed and said, "Your situation is not optimistic, Su Yun. I have a method. I wonder if you are willing to use it." "What method?" Su Yun asked anxiously. "For now, I will use the 1,000-year cold eyes to completely seal your body and suppress the energy and evil aura in your body. In the future, when I find another way, I will thaw you and treat you," Feng Qi said. Hearing that, Su Yun became silent. "Although this isn't a solution, we don't have any other choice right now." Su Yun was not in a hurry to reply, but turned to look at Master Subhoodie. "Master, what do you think? The decision is in your hands. No matter what decision you make, I will not think that you are wrong." Master Subhoodie said with a faint smile. He understood what kind of person Su Yun was. "I seal? What was the difference between this and waiting for death?" Su Yun leaned against the Wutong tree, looked at Feng Qi, and said, "Teacher, you should talk to me about the sacred object from before." Chapter 796. Have you decided to retrieve that sacred object? Feng Qi stared at Su Yun and asked seriously. "Once frozen, I don't know how long it will take for it to thaw. If I need 1,000 years to find a solution, then wouldn't I have to wait 1,000 years? Even if I am willing to wait, there will be many people who are not." Su Yun laughed bitterly. In fact, this was just what he said. He only thought that with the strength of the people of the ultimate martial sacred plane, it would be very difficult to find a way to dissolve the supreme sect leader's cultivation. Feng Qi and the Master Subhoodie also knew about this, so they no longer tried to dissuade Su Yun. "Since you've made up your mind, I won't be able to persuade you." Saint Feng Qi nodded his head and said, "In the deepest part of the ultimate martial sacred plane, there is a gate. This is a gate that leads to the Wanhua realm, but there is no one guarding this gate. Because the location is hidden and the location is special, not many people know about it. Through this gate, you can go to the Jianghan realm and obtain the most precious treasure of the Han nation, the Dragon Sea Bead. Once you consume it, all the symptoms in your body will be resolved. The Dragon Sea Bead is the heartbeat of the primordial divine dragon. It has powerful energy. It can integrate everything, dissolve everything. This kind of sacred object will definitely be able to save you." The last time I heard about it, it was said that he had already stepped into the 6th stage of the Spirit Emperor, and his cultivation was strong and powerful. The last time I heard about it, it was said that he had already stepped into the 6th stage of the Spirit Emperor, and was not a match for ordinary people. However, I heard that 2 years ago, the king of the Han nation was severely injured due to improper cultivation, causing his cultivation to regress, and he was no longer a match for the king of the Jiang nation. For this reason, The Jiang nation launched a large-scale invasion against the Han nation, and I do not know what the situation is in the Jiang Han realm right now. Maybe the Dragon Sea bead is in the hands of the king of the Han nation, or maybe it has already been taken away by the king of the Jiang nation. But no matter what, the Dragon Sea bead is extremely difficult to obtain. If you obtain it, you will be going against the entire Jiang Han realm. Feng Qi said solemnly. Su Yin listened seriously, but he couldn't help but reveal a bitter smile. There's no other way to go against the entire Jiang Han realm. If I don't take it, my life will be over. No matter what, he would die. If he died like this, he would at least be able to gamble once. Since things have come to this, there is no other way. Su Yin, since you want to go, then don't stay any longer. Prepare immediately. All right. Su Yin nodded. On this trip, you will definitely fight with others, but your current situation is not suitable for you to fight with others. Yin'er, come over here. I will pour my origin energy into you and let it suppress the evil aura in your body. My origin energy comes from the Bodhi tree. It is enough for you to suppress it for more than half a year. You can take advantage of this time to quickly obtain the Dragon Abyss Pearl. Source energy? Su Yin was shocked and immediately shouted, Master, how can this be? If the source energy were to be passed on to others, it would be a great harm to you. Of course, some powerful existences would also use it to refine magic treasure, but for the Master Subhoodie to inject the source energy into Su Yin, that was not a small matter. Once it was too much, Su Yin would be fine, but the Master Subhoodie's soul might be damaged, and his strength would regress. Master doesn't need to be like this. It's better to use less of the source energy. As for Su Yin's trip, he just saved my Feng Qi Ko from danger. How can I just stand by and watch? With that, he saw Feng Qi walk to the foot of the Wudong tree. His gaze fell on the scarlet flower on the tree, and then he gently extended his hand. Pa! The flower dropped a petal on its own and landed in her palm. Following that, Feng Qi walked towards Su Yin with his bamboo cane. She placed the petal on her palm and slowly pressed it on Su Yin's wrist. Very quickly, the scarlet petal melted like water and finally condensed into thin golden lines on her wrist. This is the first petal of the first flower of the 7 colors flower of the Wudong. Its spirit life chi is probably the strongest in the entire ultimate martial sacred plane. I will now dissolve it on your wrist, and every time the evil energy in your body becomes restless, it will help you suppress it, but the energy in your body will also be suppressed, and every time it is suppressed, its effect will decrease a little. My initial judgment is that it should be able to provide you with more than a year's time, and during this period of time, you can use the profound chi as you please. Hearing that, Su Yin immediately cupped his fists. Thank you, Sage. Don't say any more. Quickly prepare and set off immediately. I will bring you to the gate of the Jiang Han realm. All right. Su Yin was recuperating in peace in the ultimate martial sacred plane, not caring about the matters of the world, but he did not know that the entire myriad heavens realm was quietly changing. Ever since the battle between the Supreme Sect and the True Devil Sect suddenly ended, the Supreme Sect started to become quiet. No one saw any movement from the Supreme Sect, and even the people from the Supreme Sect did not see each other again. On the contrary, the gate to the Supreme Realm was blocked by a large number of experts from the True Devil Sect, and no one knew what had happened. After waiting for close to a year, they still did not see the outbreak of war between the Supreme Realm and the True Devil Sect, causing people to suspect more and more what exactly had happened to the Supreme Sect. Finally, a piece of news spread throughout the myriad world for some reason. The Supreme Sect had been annihilated. Everyone in the sect, including the Sect Master and the Supreme Guard. None of them were alive. All of them were destroyed. This was just a rumor. There was no evidence to prove it, but other than the holy maiden Su Luluo, who is currently locked up in the Martial Imperial Palace. Who else in the Supreme Sect had ever shown their faces in front of the world? There was no movement from the Supreme Sect either. In fact, the people of the True Devil Sect had already arrived at the entrance of the Supreme Realm. If nothing had happened to the Supreme Sect, how could this have happened? It had to be known that the people of the Supreme Sect cultivated the limitless profound chi and all of the people in the sect were in a precarious situation. It was unknown how many people would die every day, and if the Supreme Sect did not preach and absorb more fresh blood, the Supreme Sect would not be able to hold on for long and would self-destruct. Furthermore, the True Devil Sect was different from the other powers. If one were to say that they were to be emptied, no one would believe that they had the power to destroy the Supreme Sect. However, the True Devil Sect was different. After all, when this power was at its peak, it had fought against the tyrants of the immortal Tao by itself. He had even killed his way into the immortal world. This was something that no one in the myriad worlds could compare to. Those peak great demons, and even immortals and gods were extremely afraid of. A mere Supreme Sect, the True Devil Sect had the qualifications to destroy it. When this possibility was thought of, it immediately caused a huge uproar. Every day, countless powers and Supreme Expert would send out spies to rush towards the Supreme Realm. Their goal was to confirm the current situation of the Supreme Sect. Once the matter of the Supreme Sect's destruction was true, the impact would be different. The first thing to bear the brunt of the impact was that the Supreme Sect's dominance would be broken, and all sorts of tyrants would rise up and compete for the resources of the myriad worlds. Previously, with the Supreme Sect in charge, no one dared to act presumptuously, but once they stepped out, they would be forcefully annexed by the Supreme Sect in the name of preaching. As for the True Devil Sect, because they had always kept a low profile, the Supreme Sect did not pay too much attention to them. In these past few years, the True Devil Sect had rarely appeared in people's line of sight and had never participated in any disputes. But this time, the Supreme Sect had ignited the flames of war on the True Devil Sect, and the True Devil Sect had no choice but to accept the challenge. However, the victory of the True Devil Sect had also attracted the attention of countless experts. The Supreme Sect had suffered a crushing defeat. Was it because the True Devil Sect was too strong? If the Supreme Sect was really destroyed, wouldn't that mean that the True Devil Sect would be the strongest, replacing the Supreme Sect, controlling countless realms and controlling countless resources? It had to be known that if a spirit cultivator wanted to obtain cultivation and quickly break through, the most important thing was still resources. Without any resources, even a genius would find it more and more difficult to cultivate. With sufficient resources, even if it was trash, it would still allow him to grow quickly. The treasures of the myriad worlds were mysterious and unimaginable. Leaping over the gate of the Demon Mountain, Octagon Aniseed entered the gate of the Supreme Realm. At this moment, there were a large number of Devil Sect members guarding the gate, and the two demons were still setting up the gate. The gate of the Supreme Realm was blocked by a large number of devil formations, and in the eyes of outsiders, it was as if the people of the True Devil Sect had deliberately sealed the people of the Supreme Sect in the Supreme Realm. Vice Sect Leader, Vice Sect Leader. Along the way, the Devil Cultivator kept shouting. When the two demons heard this, they immediately rushed over. Greetings, Vice Sect Leader. Second Elder is too polite. There's no need to be so polite. Octagon Aniseed revealed a smile as he helped the two demons up. The two demons stood up and said worriedly, Vice Sect Leader, we have already dragged this on for a year, and there are already rumors in many realms that the Supreme Sect has been destroyed by our True Devil Sect. In the past few days, there have been a large number of people from the outside world who have snuck into this place, and it seems like they are here to investigate the situation here. You are right to be worried. In fact, we can no longer hide it. I believe that many people have already concluded that the Supreme Sect has been destroyed, but they have yet to confirm if it was us who did it. This, Vice Sect Leader, what do you mean by that? Do you still need to say it clearly? The Supreme Sect has not made a move for more than a year, and we have been entrenched outside the gate of the Supreme Realm for so long, which is equivalent to an army pressing down on the border. How could they not be suspicious? In fact, by doing this, others would think that we have a guilty conscience, and it is precisely because so many people from our True Devil Sect are gathered here that they are suspicious. Then, Vice Sect Leader, if that's the case, why do we send so many people here? Very simple. Octagon Aniseed gave a strange smile, set up a huge trap. Please let some people in. Trap? What trap? Asked Standing Demon and the others. You don't know, but because I was worried that you would expose yourself, those people were all staring at you, so I gave it to Standing Demon to do. After he finished speaking, he flew forward and began to patrol. Chapter 797. After the group left the mouth of the Phoenix Pond, they flew towards the southwest. With Feng Qi leading the way, they flew for close to 3 days before slowing down. He did not know where he was, but Suyin only saw a tall and towering mountain appear in his line of sight. The top of the mountain was emitting thick smoke. It looked like it was a volcanic crater. But what was surprising was that at the mountainside, there was a huge and rotten axe. The axe was deeply embedded in the mountainside, as if it was going to cut the entire mountain in half. And at the crack, surging magma had already overflowed from within, flowing in all directions. At the side of the volcano was a huge magma lake. Feng Qi led everyone to the side of the magma lake. Suyin looked at Feng Qi, only to see that she was staring at the center of the magma, and could not help but ask, could it be that the entrance to the Jianghan realm is in the magma? That's right. Feng Qi nodded his head. The Jianghan realm's gate was set up by the Jianghan realm's master. There are a total of 9 of them, and one of them leads to our ultimate martial sacred plane. Unfortunately, after the Jianghan realm and the ultimate martial sacred plane were connected, the ultimate martial sacred plane was not at peace, and there were often small fries from the Jianghan realm invading our realm. Thus, one day, a supreme expert raised his axe and split the mountain, releasing the magma from the Golden Rock volcano, drowning the entrance to the Jianghan realm, causing the people of the Jianghan realm to be unable to enter our realm. However, the people of the Jianghan realm cannot enter, and it is also very difficult for the people of our ultimate martial sacred plane to enter the Jianghan realm through this door. Suyin, I will help you temporarily move the magma away later. Quickly go in and pass through the door. Do you understand? Hearing that, Suyin immediately understood. No wonder Feng Qi was standing by the side of the magma lake, but his face was filled with worry, so the magma was a big problem. Suyin laughed and said, "No need. Teacher, just tell me the location of the gate to the Jianghan realm. I will go there myself." "Suyin, how are you going?" Feng Qi was puzzled. "Just tell me the location," Suyin said. Hearing that, Feng Qi was silent for a moment, but in the end he still nodded his head, pointed to the center, and said, "This lake is 2,000 feet deep. The door is at the bottom of the center. If the Spirit Emperor activates the profound Qi with all his might, he might be able to reach it, but you cannot activate the profound Qi right now, I'm afraid." "I'm fine," Suyin said, then turned around and activated the Imperial Battle Robe. He was wrapped in a circle of golden light, and under everyone's gaze, with a plop, he jumped into the magma. Seeing this scene, everyone was shocked. Jump in directly? Was he courting death? The people on the shore watched attentively, but the scene in front of them was shocking. After Su Yun fell into the magma seemed to be separated by an invisible barrier. Su Yun's surroundings were completely empty, and he directly fell down, quickly landing at the bottom of the magma lake. Su Yun fell into it, and the magma filled it up again. Very quickly, his figure disappeared from everyone's sight. This child Su Yun is not simple. There must be a divine object protecting him. Feng Qi said, "I only hope that he can succeed. This child has a simple heart, but the matters of the world are too heartless. There are many things that he doesn't want to do, but he is forced to do by the world." Sigh. Master Subhuti sighed. His old eyes looked at the magma, a trace of worry flashing past the depths of his eyes. After falling to the bottom of the magma, Su Yun felt that it was no different from being on land. Even though the surroundings were not ordinary magma, with the protection of the Imperial Battle Robe, it did not affect him at all. The door was huge, and they quickly found it. At this moment, the door was tightly shut. Even though it was surrounded by magma, there was no damage to the door at all. Su Yun walked to the front of the door, extended his hand, and grabbed the handle above. After Water Margin City was done, he pulled it open. Thump, 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 thump. The door let out a melodious and deep sound, and immediately after, a pure white light shot out from within. A large amount of magma flowed in through the cracks in the door. However, no matter how hot the magma was, it could not damage the door by even half an inch. Suyin stared at the snow-white whirlpool on the door, took a deep breath, and walked in. Whoosh! A strange sound rang out. Before he could react to what was going on, he felt his divine soul suddenly tremble. His vision became snow-white and he couldn't see anything. After an unknown period of time, his vision slowly recovered. The snow-white light slowly faded and the scene in front of him also appeared in his vision. Gudong, 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 the sound of water rang in his ears. Suyin regained his senses and immediately looked around. Only then did he realize that he was currently in a pool of water. He had just left the magma, and now he had entered the cold pond. The two gates of a Jianghan realm were truly interesting. He activated the Imperial Battle Robe once again, and his divine power separated the cold water around him as he flew upwards. Unexpectedly, the pool wasn't shallow either. After flying upwards for nearly 60 breaths of time, he finally reached the surface of the water. There was a thick layer of ice on the surface of the water. He used his strength to shatter it and rushed out. Unexpectedly, the sky was filled with snow and the cold wind was incessant. This was a world of ice and snow that was wrapped in silver. This was the Jianghan realm, right? It was indeed incomparably cold. Suyin withdrew his divine power and realized that his current physical body was still having difficulty resisting the cold wind of this realm. Although the Jianghan realm was not a big realm, it was said that there was once a door in the Jianghan realm that led to the immortal realm. Many experts would choose to take the path of the Jianghan realm when they went to the immortal realm, which was why the Jianghan realm was famous. Although he had a year of time, and it seemed like he had plenty of time, it was not an easy task to seize the treasures from the hands of the two hegemons of the Jianghan realm. Of course, Suyin was not willing to delay for too long. He took out his flying sword and stepped on it to fly. After not urging the profound qi for a long time, this kind of hearty feeling was simply intoxicating. It was just that, although the sky of the Jianghan realm was covered in snow and was covered in silver, it was not calm. Suyin had not flown for long when he smelled an extremely strong stench of blood, as well as a strong and terrifying killing intent. The killing intent was like a wave, hitting Suyun's face head-on. Vaguely, one could hear waves of shouts. Fighting? It didn't look like it. Suyin slowed down and carefully leaned forward. Gradually, the scene in front of him entered his line of sight. It was no longer snow-white, but blood-red. A large amount of blood dyed the white snow red, and corpses covered the hillside in front of them. There were only a few hundred people on the hillside, and at the bottom of the hillside was an army of thousands. These were all spirit cultivator soldiers. All of them were powerful and proficient in the profound technique. They soared into the air and surrounded the few hundred people on the hillside, fighting like trapped beasts. Suyin stared from afar, thinking that the remaining few hundred people would fight to the end, but he was wrong in the end. These people did not fight to the death, but put down the weapons in their hands, removed the profound strength, and knelt on the ground, surrendering to the enemies around them. A person's desire to survive was very strong, especially in a desperate situation. It was not easy to become a soldier here. If one's cultivation was not up to standard, they would not be recruited. However, no one's cultivation was obtained out of thin air, and they had all put in a lot of effort and sweat. Therefore, the soldiers of the spirit cultivator understood that living was better than anything else. As a result, these few thousand people captured this small group of 100 men, sealed their profound qi, and escorted them away. The group of people quickly disappeared into the horizon. Suyin looked behind him. Seeing that these people had walked far away, he carefully went over. The ground was littered with broken limbs. The blood energy of the spirit cultivator was huge. Even in this kind of weather, it was difficult to freeze. However, seeing the blood on the ground, Suyin felt a little uncomfortable. The evil qi in his body seemed to have a reaction. He took a deep breath, and, after chanting the clear heart incantation in his heart, he walked to the nearest corpse, flipped it over, and checked the order badge on his waist. Han Token, then, These people who died must be soldiers of the Han state. In that case, those people are from the Jiang country. Suyin thought. He looked at the direction that the soldiers of the Jiang country left in, immediately turned and walked in the opposite direction. The soldiers of the Jiang country would definitely return to the camp, so the opposite direction would be the location of the Han state. Although he did not know how far the war had progressed, Long Mingzhu should still be in the Han state. After confirming the direction, Su Yin raised his speed to his fastest, flying in the air. However, along the way, the ground was littered with dead Jiang Han soldiers. The mountains and plains were littered with corpses, and it was extremely tragic. Furthermore, as he continued to advance towards the direction of the Han state, Su Yun realized that the temperature in the air was getting lower and lower, the cold wind was getting colder and colder, and the heavy snow that was like goose feathers seemed to have weight. What was going on? Previously, he could still see the trees that were covered in snow, but here, it was all silvery white. There were no longer any plants, only blood, snow, corpses, and glaciers. Chirp! Suddenly, the sound of something tearing through the air came from below. Su Yun's face tensed up, his eyes and hands moved quickly. He leaned to the side and extended his arm, tightly grabbing onto an ice arrow that was shooting towards him. Who? Su Yun shouted. However, the response was a slightly angry shout. Die! As the sound all fell, a large number of ice arrows shot out from the thick snow below. Some of the ice arrows were several meters long and were extremely terrifying. The scene was as if 10,000 arrows had been shot out at the same time. However, this kind of profound technique was not enough to injure Su Yun. He pulled with a flip of his hand, taking out the Lotus Star sword. He quickly waved it. The snow-white sword beam was like a dragon circling around his body. The incoming ice arrows were all chopped into powder. Damn it! An unwilling female voice came out from the snow below. But right at this moment, Su Yun suddenly felt a strong, killing intent appear above him. It was extremely dense, and it appeared abnormally suddenly. His eyes narrowed as he raised his sword to block behind him. Clang! A violent sound rang out. Su Yun's body was knocked away. The opponent's strength was not great, but the cold, profound chi was extremely strong. After the sword strike, Su Yun was surprised to discover that a stream of frost power was quickly spreading towards his body along the Lotus Star sword. In the blink of an eye, he had turned into an ice sculpture and fell from the sky. Chapter 798. After Su Yun was frozen, he immediately fell to the ground. Although he was frozen, his consciousness was still there, and he saw that in the air, a handsome man with snow-white clothes and long hair had appeared. The man held onto a light blue sword and floated there. He looked at the thick snow above his head, then swung his sword crash. The heavy snow below immediately dispersed like sand blown by the wind. It turned out that there was another person hiding below. It was a young girl wearing a pure white dress. Her skin was like snow, and her appearance was delicate and pretty. She looked extremely beautiful. She held a strange fan that seemed to be made out of ice. The fan leaf rippled with a terrifying cold air, and at this moment, she was pouting as she looked at the man who had descended from above. Brother-in-law, what are you doing? This is clearly my prey. Who told you to do it? The young girl seemed to be rebuking, her voice filled with complaints. The man smiled and flew down, looking at the young girl lovingly. Your sister knows that you ran out alone again. She was worried that something would happen to you, so she let me come out to see you. Luckily, I came quickly, otherwise you would be in trouble again. Bing Bing, as the princess of the Han state, even if you don't think for the country, you should think for yourself. Now that the Jianghan realm is in chaos, if something were to happen to you, the consequences would be too severe. Brother-in-law, don't underestimate me. I am at least at the 5th stage of the Sky Spirit Master. It won't be that easy to subdue me. This guy is only at the 1st stage of the Sky Spirit Master. Are you afraid that I won't be able to take care of him? The young girl put her hands on her waist and said, unconvinced. Yes. My Bing Bing is the strongest. The man shook his head helplessly. Of course, I'm much stronger than my sister. The young girl called Bing Bing proudly pouted, and then directly walked towards Su Yun, who was frozen. The man also followed along. He looked at Su Yun and asked the young lady in confusion, "Why did you attack this person? This guy's behavior is suspicious, and his face is very unfamiliar. He must be a spy sent by the Jiang country." The young girl Bing Bing said seriously. "Spy?" The man was speechless and smiled bitterly. Which spy would swagger on the road? This is probably a wild spirit cultivator. You probably caught the wrong person. Wrong person? How could that be? The girl snorted and said, "Why don't we ask him first? Let's see who he is." "All right." The man smiled, raised his sword, and slashed at the block of ice. La la. The ice wrapped around Su Yun, completely shattered. Su Yun fell out from inside and sat on the ground. Before he could even get up, the man's light blue sword was already pressed against his chin. The cold and bone-piercing chi on the sword pierced into Su Yun's skin and flesh, causing layers of frost to form on his skin. "Who are you?" The man put away his warm smile and asked coldly. "Huh? I'm just a passerby. Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me." Su Yun pretended to be frightened and said with a trembling voice. He retracted his divine power and used the imperial battle robe to change his cultivation, so the young lady thought that he was just a first-stage sky spirit master existence. Passing by, the man snorted, the cold sword at Su Yun's neck pressed down, and said, "Do you think I'm an idiot?" This was the Jianghan mountain range. Other than the armies of the two countries, who else could enter and leave this place? "Speak. Are you a spy from the Jiang country?" "SPI spy? No, I really am not." "Two heroes. You have wrongly accused a good person," Su Yun said in fear. While taking advantage of the fact that the two of them were unprepared, he quietly took out an order badge from the space bag. Previously, he had collected a few tokens from the corpses of the dead soldiers. Some were from the Jiang country, and some were from the Han country. If he needed a token to enter and exit the two countries, he could take it out, but it just so happened to be of use now. "Good person?" The young lady stared at Su Yun with her round eyes and said fiercely, "I see that you are born with shifty eyes. You don't look like a good person at all, and you still dare to lie to me? Quickly tell me, what is the next move of your Jiang country? When will your Jiang country attack our Han country? Tell me everything you know." "This, I really don't know anything." The man stared coldly at Su Yun for a long time. After a long while, he turned his arm and said to the young girl, "It seems like he really doesn't know anything. Maybe we caught the wrong person, but no matter what, it's better to kill this person. If he really is a spy, then the problem will be huge." The young girl still wanted to say something, but the man was about to make his move. Would he rather kill 1,000 wrongly than let one go? This method was quite ruthless. How could Su Yun let him succeed? He immediately let out a strange cry and flipped to the side. However, in the process of tumbling, a token was flung out from his waist. Thump! The medallion fell onto the ice, producing a crisp sound. The man and the young girl Bing Bin looked towards the source of the voice at the same time. The two of them were startled, and the young girl Bing Bing immediately ran over and picked up the medallion. "The medallion of the people of Jiang," Bing Bing exclaimed. "Oh!" The man walked over and glanced at the medallion in the young girl's hand. A trace of passion flashed across his eyes. "I never thought that this guy would actually be a spy. It's a spy. I caught a spy from Jiang country," the young girl muttered, then excitedly hugged the man, jumping and jumping. Her face full of joy, she shouted excitedly, Brother-in-law, I caught a spy from Jiang country. This is great. I've caught a spy from Jiang country. This is great. Bing Bing, you've done a great job this time." The man laughed. "Of course, don't you know who I am?" The young girl snorted and laughed. She raised her head to look at the man and realized that the two of them were very close to each other. The young girl blushed and immediately let go of her hand, retreating to the side as if it was a conditioned reflex. The man coughed to hide the awkward atmosphere. Su Yun secretly glanced at the young lady. Seeing that her eyes were lowered, her cheeks were red, her lips were tightly pursed, and her expression was a little nervous, he immediately understood that this sister-in-law most likely liked this brother-in-law. Brother-in-law, since this guy is a spy, then let's start interrogating him now. The young girl opened her mouth, her voice so soft that it was almost inaudible. However, the man shook his head. There's no rush. This place isn't safe. It's not a good place to interrogate him. Let's bring him back to Han first. All right. The young girl nodded, then shouted at Su Yun, if you don't want to die, quickly get up. Su Yun stood up and saw the young lady walking over with a pair of handcuffs to cuff herself. The handcuffs seemed to be a magic treasure. Once Su Yun was cuffed, the cultivation in his body was restricted by more than half. Hurry up and leave. The young lady pushed Su Yun and shouted fiercely. Yes, yes, yes. Su Yun lowered his head and replied, then walked forward. However, the two of them did not notice the strange light that flashed past Su Yun's eyes. After walking out of the road, the man grabbed Su Yun's arm and flew into the air. The three of them directly flew out of the mountain. Right, where's this place? Su Yun looked around and asked. It was a vast expanse of whiteness. There was almost nothing around. The snow fell endlessly from the sky, and the color was extremely monotonous. Huh, you don't even know where this is? How stupid. Even if you're a spy, you should at least have some understanding of the map of the Han state. The young girl laughed disdainfully and mocked. I think there's no one else in your country. Even an idiot like you is sent here. Are you here to send us news? How do you know? Su Yun chuckled. Humph. Seeing Su Yun being so stupid, the young lady could not be bothered with him. You haven't told me where this is. Ah, there's no harm in telling you. This is the Dragon Mountain of my Han Empire. After climbing over this mountain, we will arrive at the Dragon Ice Field. At the end of the ice field is this princess territory. Once we bring you to this princess territory, you will have a good time. Oh, you are the princess of the Han state? Of course. I, Princess Bing, am known to everyone in the entire Han state. Only you scoundrels of the Zhang country don't know my name. Unfortunately, she's just a princess. Su Yun chuckled. He did not mind, turned to look at the man beside him, and asked, What about you? And who are you? Why are you asking this? A trace of vigilance surfaced on the man's face as he looked at Su Yun suspiciously. Nothing, I was just asking. I have no comment on that. No comment? I'm already your prisoner. What are you afraid of? You also know that you are a prisoner. Since you are a prisoner, then you should know that you do not have the qualifications to ask me so many questions. The man fiercely punched Su Yun in the abdomen. Su Yun simply pretended to be in pain. Seeing that, the young girl snorted again and again. She glanced at the man and said, Brother-in-law, why are you afraid of him? There's no harm in telling him. You're the prince consort of the Han state. Could it be that you are afraid of a small spy? Oh, you're actually the prince consort? Su Yun was startled, his face revealing a look of joy. He sized up the man. What does it have to do with you? The man coldly snorted, but a trace of suspicion flashed past his eyes as he looked at Su Yun. If Su Yun's current chi was not at the first stage of the Sky Spirit Master, he would have made a move and directly killed Su Yun. This guy seemed a little strange, and the question he asked was also a little strange. The three of them flew very fast. Not long later, they entered the ice plains and approached the city that belonged to Princess Bing. A cold smile surfaced on Princess Bing's face as she shouted at Su Yun. We're almost at the territory, spy. If you want to suffer less, then tell me everything you know. If you want to have a taste of my own methods, then don't say anything, she said in a low voice. Her originally delicate and pretty little face was now filled with viciousness. Chapter 799. Princess Bing's territory was a small ice city. All the buildings in the city were made of ice. At first glance, they looked very gorgeous. All the houses and streets were sparkling and resplendent, but after a few more glances, they felt very monotonous. People's clothes were mostly blue and white, and, at a glance, it was as if the world had turned pale. On the ground and on the walls, there were sparkling and spinning formations. The buildings were extremely strange and vulgar, and on the towering city walls around the territory, there were a large number of strange and dazzling ice sculptures. These ice sculptures had special structures. Some are like snakes, some are like horses, some were like lions, some were like eagles. And every single sculpture was wrapped in dense runes. Everyone's skin was very fair. The men were handsome, and the women were incomparably beautiful. When Su Yun was escorted into the ice city by the prince consort and the princess, everyone in the city looked up to him. A large number of soldiers ran out, and a middle-aged general opened the barrier and personally welcomed them on the city walls. "Greetings, Prince Consort Li, greetings, Princess Bing." The middle-aged general kowtowed to the two of them. "General Liu, thank you for your hard work. Ever since the king sent you here to guard this place, the entire Bingsheng has enjoyed eternal peace. The people of Jiang do not dare to invade. When I see the king, I will definitely tell him about your contributions and hard work." The man called Prince Consort Li by Lu Tongguang laughed. Hearing that, Lu Tongguang was immediately overjoyed and immediately bowed again. "Thank you, Prince Consort Ma. No need to thank me. Hee, General Liu, look at what I've caught." Princess Bing giggled and pulled Su Yun, who was behind her, over. "This is a spy sent by the Jiang country." "What?" Lu Tongguang was shocked. "Our Bingsheng has caught a spy. This is a great merit. The king and big sister will definitely look at me in a new light." Princess Bing said excitedly, "Quick, bring him to the ice prison. I want to interrogate him myself." This, Lu Tongguang still couldn't believe that this pampered princess could actually catch a spy. How much of a failure would this spy be? Could he have caught the wrong person? However, seeing the hint in Prince Consort's eyes, Lu Tongguang did not say anything. "Yes, Your Highness." Lu Tongguang waved his hand. Then, two soldiers stepped forward and escorted Su Yun down the city wall, straight towards the ice prison below the drill grounds. Hey, wait, since you've caught a spy like me, shouldn't you inform your monarch, or get your princes and princesses to come and interrogate me? You're a girl. What are you interrogating? Hey, wait a minute," Su Yun shouted. However, the prince consort and the princess consort ignored him. "Be obedient and leave quickly," the soldier beside him shouted. Very quickly, Su Yun was taken away. Prince Consort Li looked at Princess Bing and said, Bing, it's better if you don't do something like interrogating a criminal. Let me do it. After all, you are a princess, so it's not convenient for you." "What's so inconvenient about it?" "Brother-in-law, don't worry. I'll definitely get everything out his mouth." The young girl vowed solemnly and then left the city wall. When Prince Consort Li saw this, a trace of worry surfaced on his face. "Prince Consort Ma, should we report this matter to the royal city?" Lu Tongguang asked carefully. "No need, I just caught a spy. There's nothing strange about that. Who knows how many spies the Jiang country sends to the Han country every day. If we really want to report it, the king won't be able to handle it. This time, it's just that Bing isn't sensible. If that person doesn't have any good news, you can send someone to deal with him." "Yes, Prince Consort Ma. Let Princess Bing play for a while. Tomorrow, I will bring her back to the royal city. Her sister misses her quite a bit. The safety of Bingsheng will depend on General Liu." "Prince Consort Ma, please don't say it like that. The safety of Bingsheng is this subordinate's responsibility. Now that the Jiang country and my Han country have been fighting for a long time, the battles between the two countries have never stopped. The Silver City and the Ice City have both fallen. The Bingsheng has been reduced to a border city. It is already a place of chaos. But this subordinate will definitely live and die with Bingsheng, and will definitely not let the people of Jiang country take half a step into the city." Lu Tongguang said somewhat excitedly. "Hey, General Liu's words are too serious. Don't worry, the people of the Jiang country are definitely not our Han country's match. The battle between the two countries will not last for long. Prince Consort Ma is right. And I'll go to the ice prison first. Send some people to set up defenses." "Yes, Prince Consort Ma." The ice prison was not the Devil's Sex prison. There was plenty of light here, and it was not as dark as the Devil's Sex prison. There was not much of a bloody smell in the air, but it was bone-piercing cold, causing people to shiver. The ice prison was not big. There were only a few cells, but more than half of the cells were already filled with prisoners. Without exception, all the prisoners were frozen into sieves, shivering nonstop. They lay on the ground, curled up into a ball, their bodies covered with a thick layer of frost. They were not completely frozen, they still had their senses, and there was no xian-qi in their bodies. There were a few formations in the cells that controlled the temperature inside, obviously to let them taste the pain of the cold. Suyin was not locked in a cell, but was pulled to a huge ice bed at the very front and pressed down on it. "Ugh, you guys! What are you doing?" he shouted in panic. "Oof, don't you know what to do?" The soldier who was holding him down sneered. Seeing that, Suyun's face changed, and he immediately struggled. However, even though the two soldiers used all their strength, he was still unable to break free in the end. All right. I won't resist. I won't resist. Suyun sighed and finally chose to give in. Sometimes, fate was too strong, and it was better to go with the flow. Isn't that good? The soldier revealed a strange smile. Slowly enjoy the special service of our ice city's ice prison. You must learn to be grateful, because there are many people who want to taste this beauty but don't have the chance. Special service. What aspect? Why do you have so much nonsense? Enjoy it slowly. The soldier tied up Suyun's 4 limbs with cold iron chains, and then activated an array formation on the ice bed. In an instant, waves of cold qi were like tens of thousands of needles, piercing towards Suyun. However, Suyun did not feel anything at all. Back then, the pain he had endured in the quiet world was many times stronger than this. Suyun's pain had long been numbed, and he was almost immune to the pain on his body, other than the mental damage that made him feel uncomfortable. However, he still had to put on a show. Suyun pretended to be cold and unbearable, his body trembling slightly. Seeing that, the few soldiers immediately laughed out loud. "Let's leave this kid here for now. Let's go drink. Let's go." The two of them left with their arms around each other's shoulders. Once the two of them left, Suyun stopped trembling. He tilted his head and looked at the door of the ice prison and started to think. The Jiang country had yet to enter the hinterland of the Han Nation, so the Dragon Abyss Pearl was probably still in the hands of the Han Nation. This princess might be able to lead him to the Dragon Abyss Pearl. In fact, with Suyun's strength, it was impossible for the prince consort and the princess Bing to capture him. One must know that he was still wearing the imperial battle robe. How could two people who did not even have Spirit Empress catch him? All of this was just an act. As for how long this show would last, it would depend on how much information he could gather. The Jianghan realm was huge, and Suyun, who had come here for the first time, did not even know where the Jiang country and the Han Nation were, much less search for the divine object, the Dragon Sea Pearl. Furthermore, he did not understand the situation here, so he had to first understand the situation before taking action, which was Suyun's usual style. After an unknown period of time, there was a commotion at the entrance of the ice prison, followed by 2 hurried voices. "Greetings, princess." Why do the 2 of you smell of alcohol?" "This princess, we had nothing better to do, so we drank a little. Today we were not on duty, so we were called over by the Lord, so, humph. If you're not on duty, can you drink as you please? What's more, when the enemy invades, do you still have time off? How preposterous. Men, take them down and cripple their cultivation." "Yes, sir. Princess, spare me. Princess, please forgive me. I was really just greedy. I won't dare to do it again. I won't dare to take him down." "Princess." The mournful screams spread further and further. Hearing that, Suyun, who was inside the ice prison, was alarmed. It was just drinking wine. What could he do? It had to be known that the cultivation of the soldiers here were all above the Sky Spirit Master, so it was impossible for the alcohol to affect them. In the past, when something like this happened, he would at most scold them a few times. Was there a need to cripple his cultivation? After the voice disappeared, the door to the ice prison was pushed open. A few soldiers wearing dark blue armor walked in and stood on both sides of the ice prison. Then, the seemingly delicate and cute, but ruthless Princess Bing walked in. She glanced at Suyun, who was on the ice bed, sneered, and sat on an ice chair at the side. "Isn't it cold?" Suyun glanced at her and asked, "You still have the mood to care about others? How laughable. You should think about how you can survive." Princess Bing said coldly. Then what should I do? Tell me everything you know. What did the people of Jiang send you here for? I'm not from Jiang. You still dare to be stubborn? Men, use the torture. Hey, slow. I'll say it. I'll say it all. Su Yun immediately said, at least you know what's good for you. Confess everything. If you tell me everything you know, maybe I will be merciful and not kill you. Oh, really? Su Yun pretended to be happy. Of course. All right, I'll say it. But before that, I want to ask you a question. What is it? Princess Bing asked curiously. Why didn't your brother-in-law come to interrogate me? Su Yun, who was lying on the ice bed, laughed. I won't let him come. To tell you the truth, even if he comes, he won't interrogate me much, because he knows that he won't be able to get anything out of my mouth. Why? Because I'm not from Jiang. You bastard. Princess Bing was completely enraged. She slammed the chair and stood up, shouting, Use torture. Use torture. Give me the ruthless punishment. If I don't let him know how powerful I, Princess Bing, am today, I will not be called Princess Bing. Yes, sir. The soldiers on both sides shouted, and Shinner began to prepare. Chapter 800. A soldier ran to the ice shelf at the side and took off a thin piece of cloth. Although it looked as soft as cloth, it was covered with sharp and slender spikes. Let him have a taste of the cold nails first, then cut off his hands and feet, pour poison ice into him, and make him suffer a fate worse than death. Princess Bing said coldly, her delicate and pretty face filled with viciousness. Su Yun was truly shocked and surprised. How could such a little girl be so vicious? Seeing how she spoke so lightly, it was likely that this was not the first time she had used such a method. Although Su Yun was not afraid of physical pain, no matter who it was, they were not willing to suffer for nothing. All right, I won't play with you guys anymore. Su Yun exhaled and said. When these words came out, everyone's faces were filled with doubt, but they saw Su Yun suddenly activating the profound strength, directly breaking the iron chain, and sitting up from the ice bed. Seeing this scene, Princess Bing and the soldiers were shocked. All the soldiers pulled out their ice blades from their waists and surrounded him, aiming their blades at Su Yun. Princess Bing stood up from her chair in shock and quickly retreated, her back leaning against the wall. These people all knew how strong the iron chain was, but this guy broke it so easily. Just how strong was he? Su Yun's finger moved, and he quickly took out a sword sheath from the space bag at his waist. With a swipe of his hand, a snow-white sharp sword flew out from the sword sheath. Lotus Star Sword. Su Yun could control a lot of swords, but because of the evil chi, he chose the Lotus Star Sword. This sword had a lot less evil chi than the other swords, and when he held it in his hand, there was a cool feeling which was extremely suitable for the current stage of battle. Break! Su Yun bellowed and waved his hand. Clang, 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 a large number of crisp sounds rang out, and the ice blades in the hands of the surrounding soldiers, without exception, all split into two. The soldiers picked up the ice blades in their hands and were dumbstruck. Princess Bing was so scared that her face turned pale. She raised her hand, pointed at Su Yun with a trembling forehead, and shouted anxiously, Kill him! Kill him! Kill him! Yes, sir. The soldiers took a deep breath, roared, and rushed forward. However, Su Yun raised the sword again, waved it, and shouted, Trapped! In an instant, a large number of slender white chains shot out from the body of the snow-white sword and flew in all directions, binding all the people in the four directions. Princess Bing was not lucky enough to escape either. She was tightly bound by the iron chains and fell to the ground. In the blink of an eye, everyone was subdued. Su Yun got off the ice bed and walked towards Princess Bing, who was lying on the ground with a smile on his face. You, how did you break free from these chains? Aren't you only at the first stage of Sky Spirit Master? It's impossible for a rank 1 person to break free from the iron chains. Princess Bing shouted in fear. Who told you I'm only at the first stage of the Sky Spirit Master? Don't believe your feelings. Su Yun extended his hand and grabbed the iron chains on Princess Bing's body. Like a chicken, he placed her on the ice bed. The moment Princess Bing got onto the ice bed, she was immediately shivering from the cold. Her delicate and pretty face was covered in a layer of pale frost. Suyin picked up the sword. Don't kill me. I beg of you, don't kill me. When Princess Bing saw the snow-white sword, she was so scared that she almost cried. However, just as the tears came out of her eyes, they were frozen, and beads of pearl-like tears fell onto the ice bed. Seeing that, Su Yun laughed lightly. Don't worry, I won't kill you. You're still useful. Useful? You? What are you going to do? Princess Bing was even more terrified. She seemed to have thought of something bad as she stared at Su Yun. Stop thinking nonsense. I'm not interested in you at all, Su Yun said in disdain, and then searched for something on the soldiers' bodies. Not long after, he took out a shiny key. He walked to the end of the ice prison, opened the door to an empty cell, threw the soldiers in, and closed the door. Then, he returned to Princess Bing's side, raised the Lotus Star sword, closed his eyes, and chanted an incantation. The Lotus Star sword's light overflowed again, splitting into two, one on Su Yun's body, and the other on Princess Bing's body. A miraculous scene occurred. Su Yun and the princess bodies were completely filled with light. Following that, the two of them changed. In less than 3 breaths of time, Su Yun's face had transformed into Princess Bing's appearance, and Princess Bing had also transformed into Su Yun's appearance. Princess Bing's eyes widened as she looked at the person in front of her in disbelief. The illusion technique was the most common and simple technique in the Myriad Heavens realm, but it was extremely easy to see through it. For people with high cultivation, this kind of inferior technique was useless. However, Princess Bing was horrified to discover that the illusion technique used by the person in front of her did not have any flaws. It could be said that it was exactly the same as her. If one really wanted to distinguish the difference between this guy and himself, perhaps the only thing left was his usual actions and demeanor. However, Suyin did not plan to maintain this state for a long time. She first walked out of the cell and shouted, "Someone come." "Princess." After a while, a prison head ran over and bowed respectfully. "Quickly go and call Prince Consort Ma over." "Yes, sir." The head of the prison left. Su Yun, who had transformed into Princess Bing's appearance, sat on the chair at the other end and waited quietly. Seeing that, Princess Bing's face became extremely ugly. She could sense that Su Yun's target was not only her, but also Prince Consort Li. "You despicable person. What do you want to do? Quickly let me go, or else you won't be able to leave the Han state." Princess Bing shouted at the top of her lungs, but the voice she made was Su Yun's voice, and her appearance was also like Su Yun's. Who would believe her words? Su Yun only glanced at her, but did not have much of a reaction. He did not even say a word, and just sat there, allowing Princess Bing to shout and shout. Princess Bing was extremely cold, and Su Yun's actions made her anxious. She struggled for a long time and also scolded for a long time, but it was useless. "Greetings, Prince Consort Ma." At this moment, a cry came from outside the door. Soon after, the sound of heavy footsteps could be heard moving quickly towards them. Hearing that, Princess Bing, who had transformed into Su Yun on the ice bed, became even more anxious. Brother-in-law, be careful. That guy has turned into me and is going to harm you." Princess Bing shouted, but the voice that came out of her mouth was Su Yun's voice. This made Su Yun feel extremely uncomfortable when he heard it. For a grown man to say such words, it was really too creepy. When Prince Consort Li, who was outside, heard this, he naturally ran in quickly. When he saw Princess Bing and Su Yun, who was lying on the bed, his nervous face immediately relaxed. "Did you ask what's going on?" Prince Consort Li asked. However, Princess Bing did not say anything. She only pointed at the person lying on the bed. Prince Consort Li's eyes flashed with doubt. He did not know what was going on, so he turned around and looked at Su Yun, who was on the ice bed. However, this time, he sensed that something was amiss. Su Yun, who was on the ice bed, was not shackled by the iron chains, but was instead tied up by many snow-white iron chains. Su Yun shouted anxiously, "Brother-in-law, be careful. That guy is not at the first stage of the Sky Spirit Master. He used the profound technique to turn me into his appearance, and he turned me into my appearance. He wants to harm you. Be careful." What did you say? Prince Consort Li was confused when he heard this. He had no idea what Princess Bing was talking about. The two of them had exchanged appearances, but he didn't feel anything wrong at all. Wait, Prince Consort Li suddenly thought of something. In the past, when Bing Bing saw me, she was always so enthusiastic, but why was she so cold today? He suddenly turned around, only to see that Princess Bing was already standing behind him at some point in time. Looking at him with a smile, you should believe what she said. Su Yun grinned, and the disguise on their bodies was instantly removed. The Su Yun on the ice bed turned into the appearance of Princess Bing, and the Princess Bing also returned to Su Yun's original appearance. Prince Consort Li was shocked, but before he could react, a sharp sword instantly pressed against the Qi meridian in front of his chest. The sharp sword pierced into his body. It was only a few strands of hair away from the Qi meridian, and the sword Qi had already wrapped around the Qi meridian. Prince Consort Li immediately stopped and did not dare to move. As long as he moved, he would be torn apart by the sword Qi. It's a good thing you chose not to move. Otherwise, I would have to cripple you. Su Yun laughed. I'm afraid you're not at the first stage of the Sky Spirit Master, right? Who exactly are you? Prince Consort Li said in a deep voice. It doesn't matter who I am. In any case, I'm not a spy from the Jiang country. I have to tell you that. You're not a spy from the Jiang country? I regret to tell you that you have captured the wrong person. Then you? Why'd you still do this? Wouldn't it be fine if you just said it clearly? Speak clearly? Did you give me a chance to say it? Besides, would you believe me if I said it? All right, we don't need to delve deeper into this issue. Let's talk about something else. Su Yun said, Now, I want you to do one thing immediately. You better obediently cooperate with me. If you cooperate well, you and this Princess Bing will be safe and sound, or if you don't cooperate well, then unfortunately, I can only send you away. What do you want me to do? Prince Consort Li's face darkened. It's not a very difficult matter. It will definitely be very easy for you to do it. Immediately send a message to the imperial city of the Han Nation and tell your wife, the princess of the Han Nation, that Princess Bing was injured. The situation was not looking good. Let her immediately bring the best spirit doctor in the imperial city over. In addition, I have also sent someone to inform the prince of this matter, but this requires two groups of people. One group will inform the prince of this news, and the other group will set off the next day to tell him that Princess Bing is fine and is on her way back, so that he can wait in peace. When Prince Consort Li heard this, his expression changed. Could it be? Hurry up and do it. Chapter 801. Inside the True Devil Realm. Ever since the True Devil Sect defeated the Supreme Sect, the reputation of the True Devil Sect had reached a peak. The great demons from all directions came to pay their respects, and all of them bowed their heads to Qin Shun. The Devil Cultivator worshipped the strong, and the True Devil Sect had defeated the Supreme Sect, which was a symbol of strength. With the great battle at hand, Octagon Aniseed did not hold back, and immediately used this reputation to expand the strength of the True Devil Sect. Of course, most of the Devil Cultivator-s that were arranged inside were divided into Outer Devil Sect-s, and the Devil Cultivator-s that joined were too mixed. Octagon Aniseed did not wish for the True Devil Sect to be stirred up by them, and the current situation was just to borrow the power of these people to fight against the upcoming storm. The Sect Master went into closed-door cultivation again, while Octagon Aniseed was busy. He had just returned from his inspection in the Supreme Realm, and then went to the western region of the Demon Realm to recruit people. He would often leave the Devil Sect for a month or so, and when he finally returned to the Devil Sect, he would have a lot of things to do. Vice Sect Leader, someone requests an audience. Just as he entered the Hall of Bones, before he could even sit down, he saw the two devils rushing in. People, where did this person come from? Octagon Aniseed, who had just dozed off, opened his eyes and asked sleepily. I can't explain it clearly. Can't say. What do you mean? Because quite a few people have come. The two devils were a little troubled, and none of them are Devil Cultivator. None of them are Devil Cultivator? Octagon Aniseed's eyebrows twitched. Ever since the end of the Great Battle, countless Devil Cultivator had come to see him every day. However, other than the Devil Cultivator, very few others wanted to see him. After all, he was a demon, and because of the fierce demon, many spirit cultivators were rather resistant. However, on this day, a large number of people suddenly appeared. Octagon Aniseed knew that something bad would happen. Let's receive them in the hall. Also, let the Great Elder come over as well. I'm nervous if there are too many people. Octagon Aniseed said helplessly. Ugh, yes, Vice Sect Leader. The two devils nodded and left. Octagon Aniseed's movements were not slow as he arrived at the hall early to wait. In the past, he would drag things out as long as he could, but after the great battle, his actions had become swift and decisive. Not long after, the people who came to pay their respects came in. There were about 30 people in the crowd. They walked in small groups, and there were 3 or 4 people gathered together. At a glance, there should be 7 or 8 forces here. Everyone looked around. This was the first time some of them had come to the True Devil sect, so they were very curious about everything here. Greetings, Eight-Toothed Grandmaster. Everyone entered the hall, stood in their positions, and respectfully bowed to the eight-toothed man above. Ayaya, everyone, you're too polite. There's no need to talk about etiquette when you're here. Everyone, feel free. Haha, sit, everyone please sit. My humble abode is simple and crude. I'm sorry for the poor hospitality. He greeted them warmly with a mischievous smile. Seeing the dignified vice sect master of the True Devil sect in such a state and with such a delicate and pretty appearance, everyone was puzzled. Was this guy really the famous vice sect master of the True Devil sect? No matter how I look at it, it doesn't seem like it. However, there were always a few experts who ignored all of this. With an indifferent smile, they sat down. At this time, the round demon walked in. After the introduction, everyone greeted him again. Fortunately, the round demon had an aura, deep and blood-red eyes, a skinny and pale face, and a tall body. Just by sitting there, it gave off an extremely serious feeling. After he responded one by one, he returned to his own seat. He sat on a chair with crooked teeth, squinting his eyes as he quietly looked at the people below. Only after the hall had completely quieted down did he slowly speak. Everyone, you have come from far away to my True Devil realm. I wonder what is the matter. Eight-Toothed Grandmaster, we're not here for anything else. We just want to ask about the Supreme Sect. Sitting in the front row, a middle-aged man with a dark face turned his head and said in a deep voice. His expression was extremely serious, and his eyebrows were linked together, giving off a dignified look. Supreme Sect? Octagon Aniseed frowned, but his expression was filled with doubt. What's the matter with Supreme Sect? Could it be that Supreme Sect has made some movements? Movement? Heh, is the Eight-Toothed Grandmaster pretending to be confused? If there is any movement in Supreme Sect, I'm afraid you will know better than us. A middle-aged woman, sitting on the left, spoke up. Who are you? I am the domain lord of the Chuanha region. Chuanha region? Octagon Aniseed was startled, his head full of fog. He secretly looked at the round demon and whispered, Elder Yuan Mo, what kind of place is the Chuanha region? Cough, cough. The round demon coughed, then said in a low voice, This is a domain of the ultimate martial world, and the people who are active inside are all spirit cultivator S above the 5th stage of the Sky Spirit Master. It is said that there were experts with fighting strength that were ranked within the top 500,000 who were active inside, and their strength was extremely powerful. Although the Chuanha region is not big, the people inside are very united. There are no sects. The entire domain is just one power. Hearing this, Octagon Aniseed immediately revealed a look of understanding. Even though the two of them spoke softly with so many people watching, how could they not be noticed? The domain lord of the Chuanha region had an ugly expression on his face. Although the Chuanha region was not a big domain, it was still quite famous in the ultimate martial world. However, this vice sect master of the True Devil sect had actually never heard of her own domain, which made her lose quite a bit of face. Ahaha, so it's the domain lord of the Chuanha region. My apologies. Seeing that the atmosphere was not right, Octagon Aniseed immediately shouted with a smile. The Eight-Toothed Grandmaster is a noble, so he naturally does not recognize our small region. But today, he is not here to discuss this with the eight-toothed Grandmaster, but to discuss the matters of the Supreme Sect. Eight-toothed Grandmaster, you have not answered Sect Master Bai's previous question. May I ask, what is the situation in the Supreme Sect? The Chuana region lord said in a deep voice. The current situation in the Supreme Sect? Octagon Aniseed stared and shook his head. Actually, we don't know either. Ever since the Supreme Sect was defeated by my True Devil Sect, they have gone into closed-door cultivation, and the gate to the Supreme Realm has been sealed shut. No one has entered or exited, but the Supreme Sect is still a tumor of the Myriad Heavens realm. So I sent the experts of the True Devil Sect to block the gate, to prevent the people of the Supreme Sect from coming out, and to kill them in the cradle. There is only one gate to the Supreme Realm, and we can guard it. However, after so long, the Supreme Sect has not made any movements, so I do not know what the Supreme Sect has been up to recently. Really? If that's the case, then we can't just let you worry about it. The Supreme Sect is powerful, but the True Devil Sect is still a lone army. Eight-toothed Grandmaster, why don't we do this? We have 8 masters here today. All of them are the masters and vice-masters of the various forces. We had decided to send a unit each to enter the Supreme Sect with your demon army, seal the gate to the Supreme Realm, and prevent them from leaving the Supreme Realm and causing chaos in the Myriad Heavens realm. What do you think? I don't think there's a need. We Devil Cultivator are enough to take care of it. If there are too many forces involved, I'm worried that there will be problems. After all, once there are too many people, it will become chaotic. Octagon Aniseed chuckled. Hey, what is the eight-toothed Grandmaster saying? The person who was addressed as Sect Master Bai said in a deep voice, all these years, the Supreme Sect has not only tormented your True Devil Sect, but countless people in the Myriad Heavens realm. Now that we want to deal with the Supreme Sect, how can we let your True Devil Sect do it alone? If that's the case, wouldn't we be mocked by others for being useless? Although the Supreme Sect was defeated by you, they have a lot of people, and their faith is crazy. The pressure on the True Devil Sect is definitely not small. So, I think that it would be better to quickly form an allied army. We will immediately arrange for reinforcements to head to the Supreme Sect to defend. This person spoke resolutely and decisively, as if he didn't want to discuss anything with Octagon Aniseed. He didn't say anything, but his lazy posture had already disappeared. He sat upright on a chair, and his originally cute smiling face was now gone, replaced by calmness. When the crowd saw Sect Master Bai speak like this, they couldn't hold it in any longer. Sect Master Bai is right. We cannot let the True Devil Sect take responsibility for this matter alone. We must quickly form an allied army and fight against the Supreme Sect together. Although the power of the True Devil Sect is not bad, there is still a gap between them and the Supreme Sect. If we want to eliminate the Supreme Sect in one fell swoop, I'm afraid it won't be possible. That's right. Everyone shouted and nodded in agreement with Sect Master Bai's words. The hall was a little noisy. The round demon looked at Octagon Aniseed and saw that he still didn't say anything. However, his face gradually darkened. It wasn't until the commotion in the hall reached its peak that Octagon Aniseed finally opened his mouth. However, he stood up and shouted, "Enough!" As the 2 words fell, the entire hall was shocked and silent. Pairs of astonished eyes all landed on Octagon Aniseed's body. With a stern face, he bellowed angrily, "You bunch of people, when my True Devil Sect was fighting with the Supreme Sect, why didn't you think of helping? Back then, when my True Devil Sect was attacked by the Supreme Sect, why didn't you think of helping? When we were chasing after the Supreme Sect, why didn't you think of helping? Now, seeing that the Supreme Sect has been beaten like a dog by us, all of you came running over one by one, wanting to get a share of our True Devil Sect soup? Let me tell you, all of you, stop letting your imaginations run wild. To defeat the Supreme Sect, we have sacrificed countless lives of our Devil Sect's disciples, and how much blood has flowed. This glory was obtained by us risking our lives, and is not something that you can obtain with just a single word. You want to form an allied army? Sure, you can do it at any time. But if you want to enter the Supreme Realm, you will have to see if my True Devil Sect agrees to it or not. After he finished speaking, he stomped his foot, and in an instant, the entire Devil Sect began to shake. Everyone was shocked as they stared at Octagon Aniseed with wide eyes. None of them dared to breathe loudly. The entire hall was terrifyingly quiet. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.